Chapter 2000 Scam. Thank you for your support all the time. It's actually 2000 chapters. I never thought that Wu Lian could write so many words. When the book first hit the shelves at the time, the grades were so poor that they couldn't make a living. Xiaomo told himself that no matter how poor he is, even if he has no income, he still has to write 2 million words. The single chapter on hard work should still be in the WW chapter and be a man who starts and ends. Now I have done it 3 times. Everything is thanks to the strong support of all book friends. I sincerely thank you. It is great to have you. A ray of profound light suddenly shot from the Ascension Dragon altar, aiming at the retreating person. The man's complexion changed drastically, and without even thinking about it, he fled out again at a faster speed. At the same time, the light on his body flashed wildly, as if he had used all his defensive power. But no matter how fast he was, he couldn't be faster than the power of the rising dragon altar. In just one breath, the mysterious light chased after this person, and directly penetrated the person's body. With countless layers of defensive power, in front of this mysterious light, it was as fragile as paper. Ah! There was a scream, and this man fell to the ground with a thud, just like those warriors who were killed by Zhongguang before. His flesh and bones were all broken, and his death was miserable. All the people around were all frightened and changed color. After all, from Yang Kai's attack to the death of these 2 people one after the other, it was only 3 breaths of effort. In just 3 breaths, the 2 Void King Realm peak powerhouses at the first level were killed one after another. No matter what secret treasure or move Yang Kai used, it was enough to show his strength and not to be trifled with. In an instant, the martial artists around Yang Kai looked at him with changed tastes, full of fear and panic, intentionally or unintentionally pulled away from him to show that they did not want to be enemies with him. This effect is exactly what Yang Kai expected. He flipped his wrist, put away the Soul Slayer knife, and walked forward with a big stab, seeing the surrounding warriors as nothing, extremely arrogant. Roar! Suddenly, a high-pitched roar sounded from the crowd, some like a dragon's chant, and some like a beast's roar. Everyone was startled. Chi-Chi looked towards the source of the voice, and the next moment, their expressions froze. Because in that position, a man in brocade clothes about 30 or so did not know what secret technique was used, and his whole body suddenly became extremely red, like a roasted prawn emitting bursts of heat, and his body above the head, there appeared a phantom of a fiery red flood dragon. The phantom of the flood dragon was almost condensed into substance, with its teeth and claws open, its expression swaying, and after a slight shake, it suddenly shot down and got into the man's body. The next moment, the man's aura suddenly rose, and the aura he exuded was also mixed with a breath similar to Longwei. Duan Tianxi, it's Duan Tianxi, someone suddenly exclaimed. Is it the son of the city lord? I've heard that this guy had a chance to get a complete dragon's soul when he was young. It turned out to be true. Now it's broken. With the help of this dragon's soul, the resistance to his progress will be greatly weakened. Quote. Many warriors yelled in one go, some showed resentment, others envied, but most of them showed fear. Yang Kai also instantly understood the identity of this person. It turned out to be Duan Tianxi, the son of Duan Yuenshen, the city lord. The phantom of the dragon was obviously the soul of the dragon he obtained in the early years. It was inspired by secret methods to resist the oppression of the majestic dragon power here. Although Jiaolong is not a real dragon, but no matter what, there is a trace of real dragon blood. At this time and here, it is best to use it to fight against Longwei. Duan Tianxi was also a patient person. He hadn't exposed his advantage before, until he was close enough to the ascending dragon altar. He suddenly preempted the attack. Obviously he had a big plan. But he's not the only one with this idea. At the same time that Duan Tianxi inspired the dragon's soul to add to his body, not far away, another young man gave a deep shout, and a semicircular defensive cover suddenly appeared outside his body, which looked like a big bell. The attacks from the surrounding warriors landed on him, but he didn't care about it. He just stared at the treasure on the Ascension Dragon altar with fiery eyes, and walked forward step by step. And none of those attacks could break the defense on his body, all of them were blocked. It's the Fudo Heavenly King Bell from the Raging Fire Palace. This man is the eldest son Jin from the Raging Fire Palace. A warrior recognized the warrior's name and the secret treasure used. Daoyuan level middle grade defense secret treasure, do not move the Heavenly King Bell. This is cheating, how can I fight this? Many Void King Realm warriors shouted angrily. Although with Zhang Zigen's cultivation base, He can't bring out all the power of the Pseudo-Heavenly King Bell, but it is a middle-grade Daoyuan level defensive secret treasure after all, and it cannot be broken by ordinary Void King Realm warriors at all, unless there are more than a dozen. Only when people join forces and send out a full blow can they pose a threat to him. As Zong Zigen walked forward, he turned his head to look at those who attacked him speculatively, and said with a sneer, "Zong has remembered you all. When the matter here is over, Zong will pay a good visit to you." As soon as the words were spoken, many Void King Realm faces suddenly paled. "Young Master Zong, this is a misunderstanding. I was blind before I came down. I didn't recognize young Master Zong. I offended you. Young Master Zong, forgive me. If you had reported your name earlier, I would never be able to attack you." A Void King Realm quickly I softened up, for fear that Zong Zigen would settle accounts with himself afterward. "Me too, Mr. Zong. As the saying goes, it's better to break up an enemy than to tie it up. Why is it necessary, Mr. Zong?" Zong Zigen sneered again and again, kept on stepping, and at the same time said lightly, "Okay, since it was a misunderstanding, let's forget it, but, if anyone dares to harass this young master, they will not be lenient in the future." "Dare not dare, Master Zong, forgive me." All warriors were overjoyed. Zong Zigen obviously also knew that now was not the time to entangle with these people. If he didn't give in and force them to fight to the death with him, he would only benefit others in the end, so he didn't push too much. Apart from Duan Tianxi and Zong Zigen, only Yang Kai was the fastest. Having reached this point, he naturally used a little bit of the original power of Jin Shenglong to resist the invisible dragon's might, so to some extent, he is the most relaxed one. The three of them looked at each other as they moved forward, and when their eyes met, sparks burst out. At this moment, Yang Kai felt secretly bitter, and had no joy at all, because he was different from Duan Tianxi and Zong Zigen. He had no backing, no background. If he really used his means to pack up all the treasures on the ascending dragon altar, it would be inevitable, will become the target of public criticism. He was considering whether to let Duan Tianxi and Zong Zigen attack first, so as to share the pressure. But soon, he rejected this idea, because no matter how many treasures he took away at that time, he would definitely be targeted by others. If that's the case, then he will keep doing one thing. Just as he was making up his mind, Duan Tianxi suddenly pinched his hands together, and immediately tapped himself a few times. Along with those finger taps, Duan Tianxi's aura, which was not weak at all, suddenly rose sharply. He actually used some kind of powerful secret technique without hesitation. Immediately, he laughed out loud, and jumped several feet quickly, and came to the side of the dragon rising altar. Seeing this situation, Yang Kai's heart skipped a beat, and Zong Zigen's expression also changed. He gritted his teeth and accelerated his speed. "It's all mine." Duan Tianxi laughed, and as soon as he stretched out his hand, he grabbed a secret treasure in the shape of a long sword. Of the dozen or so treasures on the ascending dragon altar, this long sword is the best in appearance. Its brilliance is flowing, and the whole body is glowing with a faint light. It is not ordinary at first glance. Duan Tianxi is also a cautious person. When he took the secret treasure of the long sword, he observed the surrounding area deliberately, and at the same time, the power in his body was secretly running, ready to guard against unexpected events. But what surprised him most was that he picked up the long sword with ease. Such a result made him stunned, but it was more of a surprise. Just when he wanted to collect the first harvest into the space ring, something unexpected happened. Less than a breath away from the ascending dragon altar, the long sword turned into a dead branch in a twist, not only lost its original appearance but also had no spirituality. The wind blew, and the dead branch broke in two and fell to the ground. Duan Tianxi's smile suddenly froze on his face. The expressions of the many warriors who were staring at him were also extremely wonderful, with doubts, surprises, gloating, and thoughtfulness. Is this fake? After a while, Duan Tianxi roared unwillingly, threw away half of the dead branch in his hand, and grabbed another hammer secret treasure. The second secret treasure was taken out by him. Similarly, after leaving the ascending dragon altar, it turned into an ordinary stone. Illusion. This is illusion. We have all been deceived. There was a sudden exclamation from the crowd. There is no need for this person to remind, almost everyone is aware of this. After all, the process of Duan Tianxi picking up those two secret treasures was under the watchful eyes of the public, and there was no chance to cheat, and it was impossible to change the package. In this way, the only explanation is that the treasures on the ascending dragon altar are not real, but obtained through a burst of powerful illusion shots created an optical illusion for the warriors. For a while, the warriors who were constantly advancing stopped their pace one after another, with dumbfounding expressions on their faces. No one expected that the final outcome would be like this. Rising dragon altar, fish jumping over the dragon gate, and transforming into a dragon, this is a legendary thing. It turned out to be a huge deception. Yang Kai also stunned. At the moment when Duan Tianxi used the secret technique to rush forward, he was still anxious, but now such a dramatic scene appeared. He was quite caught off guard. Suddenly, his expression changed, he closed his eyes, and opened them again. No one noticed, his left eye turned into a golden shuren. The next moment, he rushed forward quickly. On the other side, Zigen also came near the dragon rising altar, exchanged a glance with Duan Tianxi, picked up treasures from the rising dragon altar continuously, and then lost them to the extreme. Those seemingly good cheats are all very common and useless at all. After being thrown on the ground, they turned into fine powder, and they were all scattered by the wind. Soon, Yang Kai also joined them. He picked up a jade bottle, opened it, looked at it, cursed angrily, and threw the jade bottle away. Not long after, under the joint inspection of the three people, none of the things on the ascending dragon altar were true. How could this be? Duan Tianxi seemed to be unable to accept the ending, and murmured with disappointment on his face. It seems, we've all been tricked. Zigen laughed at himself. To be continued, this text is provided by the Dawn Update group at ch8296929 Dian Hanji. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2001 Question. The ascending dragon altar in the 5-color pagoda is actually a big scam. There are hundreds of virtual kings, and they can't accept this reality for a while. Near the rising dragon altar, everyone looked gloomy, looking at the dead bodies and broken bodies all over the ground. If the rising dragon altar is a scam, then what are these dead people for? Some of these people have relatives and friends of those who are still alive. Miss Qin, should you give me an explanation about this matter? Suddenly, someone in the crowd looked at Qin Yu, who was at the rear, and asked coldly. Qin Yu had also stopped a long time ago, and because of her low strength, she hadn't gone far. At this moment, she and her guards were all behind the crowd, and they were 3 feet away from the nearest warrior, 40 feet. Hearing this, Qin Yu frowned, raised her head, and said weakly, "What does this friend mean?" HMPH, don't Miss Qin not know what you mean? You said this is the Ascension Dragon Altar, and we believed in it, but I didn't think it was a scam. So many people were killed and injured for it. Would Miss Qin want to pretending to be deaf and dumb? The person who spoke was filled with righteous indignation, as if Qin Yu had really lied to them, and asked her to be responsible for those dead warriors. What he said was actually recognized by many warriors, and they all looked at Qin Yu with unfriendly expressions, as if they wanted to vent their grievances on Qin Yu. Qin Yu frowned even more. Before she could speak, a guard beside her couldn't help snorting coldly, "My friend, please think about it before you speak. What does this have to do with my lady?" Quote, "Why is it irrelevant? If Miss Qin Yu hadn't said that this is the Ascending Dragon Altar, we wouldn't be able to. It's impossible to break in with a head full of enthusiasm." Before the man finished speaking, Duan Tianxi suddenly sneered, looked at the man with a murderous look, and said in his mouth, "It's really ridiculous. If you think about it for yourself, even without Miss Qin's guidance, there is such a big opportunity. Will you be willing to let it go?" After all, Duan Tianxi is the son of the city lord, and his own strength is not weak. He has a very high reputation and popularity among the warriors in Fenggalan City. Hearing what he said, many people lowered their heads and pondered, and found that this is indeed the case. Even without Qin Yu's explanation at that time, everyone would not have ignored the rising dragon altar, and they would definitely have rushed up to it, and the ending would be no different from what it is now. In other words, with or without Qin Yu, the ending will not change. It's just because of Miss Qin's advice. You don't think it's too ridiculous to blame her on her head? Duan Tianxi looked at the warrior who had spoken before with a gloomy expression. That person dared not look at Duan Tianxi, his eyes could not help but drift left and right. That's right, Miss Qin is not at fault. If anyone dares to accuse her, it is an enemy of my raging fire palace. Zigen also spoke indifferently. My Zhang family also has the same attitude. Zhang Chuhe answered with a smile, and stood on the side of righteousness in a timely manner, accumulating reputation for the Zhang family and himself. Of course I won't accuse Miss Qin. This is just an irresponsible rhetoric of a few people. Miss Qin doesn't have to care about these clowns. That's right, if it wasn't for Miss Qin, I wouldn't even say thank you if I didn't even know what this thing is, but even made accusations. I'm really a scum of my Fenggalan city warriors. I'm ashamed of such people. For the team. There was a lot of yelling, and the person who accused Qin Yu before turned red with embarrassment, wishing he could find a hole in the ground and go down, and never come out again. Qin Yu, who was not far away, smiled slightly, and said with a salute, "You all are people who understand the truth, but I am not wrong, there are indeed treasures in the Ascension Dragon Altar." "Where is it?" Duan Tianxi and Zhang Zigen asked hastily with their faces turning hot. Yang Kai's heart sank, and he stared at Qin Yu for a moment, lest she say something he didn't want to hear. Qin Yu said with a slight smile, "The Ascension Dragon Altar itself is a treasure. Maybe the things placed on it before were formed by illusion but were used to create the Ascension Dragon Altar. A very coveted refining material." As soon as the words were spoken, everyone's expressions became hot. Qin Yu said again, "However, with our strength, we cannot destroy the Rising Dragon Altar. Otherwise, it would not have existed in the five-color pagoda forever, and it would have been taken away by an expert a long time ago. If you attack it rashly, I'm afraid it will cause a strong restriction, so I advise you not to act rashly." Hearing what she said, Zhang Zigen and Duan Tianxi gradually calmed down, turned their heads to look at the huge Rising Dragon Altar, and sighed. "The treasure mountain is right in front of you, but you can't mine it. This feeling is really tangled. By the way, Miss Qin." Yang Kai, who hadn't spoken the whole time, suddenly clasped his fists together and said, "Since Miss Qin has some understanding of the Ascending Dragon Altar, how dare I ask, when will we leave here? After all, the friends who retreated before. You saw the end. We can't be stuck here forever, can we?" "That's right, Miss Qin, please advise." Many people also suddenly realized this problem, and all of them turned their attention to Qin Yu. Qin Yu glanced at Yang Kai meaningfully, pursed his lips and said with a smile, "You can leave now. Once the treasures on the Dragon Rising Altar disappear, the restraining power will also lose its effect. And this Dragon Rising Altar is half an hour away. Shichen will sink into the ground, drifting into the void, and the next time it will appear, I don't know when it will be. But you can also choose not to leave. After all, the oppression of dragon power still exists, and you can practice here. You must already be very clear about the benefits, so I don't need to say more about it." Yang Kai was very uncomfortable being looked at by her eyes, and there was always a feeling that the secret was exposed, but he was still grateful. "Thank you, Miss Qin, for your guidance." Having said that, he didn't move. A lesson from the past is a guide for the future. He doesn't want to be inexplicably killed by the mysterious light that shoots out from the Dragon Rising Altar. So he simply sat cross-legged on the ground, took out a grain of Yuan Ning pill and took it, relying on the powerful dragon's power here to oppress, used two prongs to transform the source power in his body. Not only him, but all warriors did not move, waiting for the birth of the first person to eat crabs. And most of the warriors sat down cross-legged like Yang Kai, obviously not wanting to waste this great opportunity. As for the rest of the people, they eagerly wanted to leave here and look for treasures elsewhere, but they didn't have the courage to leave. Their eyes flickered from side to side, flickering and watching. Seeing this situation, Qin Yu smiled slightly, turned around, and took a few steps back. "Miss." The guards around her were shocked and shouted, their backs were soaked in cold sweat in an instant. But what made them feel at ease was that Qin Yu did not encounter any attack from the Rising Dragon Altar. It seemed that what she said before was true. Once the treasures on the altar disappeared, the power of restraint would no longer work. Seeing Qin Yu leading by example, many warriors calmed down and tried their best to leave from where they were. Soon, there were only a few dozen warriors left near the Rising Dragon Altar. Yang Kai was among them. He had dissipated the original power of Jin Shenglong, and he was under the terrifying dragon's power with his body. Under the catalysis of Yuewen Dan's medicinal effect, he could only feel that the power in his body was transforming rapidly. A little calculation, if you practice here for half an hour, it is enough to be worth about 10 days of hard work outside. As Qin Yu said, half an hour later, accompanied by the buzzing and trembling of the ground, the Rising Dragon Altar on the ground slowly sank into the ground under the action of an inexplicable force. In less than half a cup of tea, the entire Rising Dragon Altar was gone. Even the oppression of the dragon power disappeared without a trace. Yang Kai just sighed and stood up. He turned his head to look, and the dozens of warriors who remained stood up together. Some were alone, some were in groups, but they were all peaceful and there was no dispute. Soon, these dozens of people flew out in different directions. Yang Kai also randomly found a direction and continued to look for the 5-color beam of light leading to the second floor. Not long after flying, he suddenly frowned, and suddenly accelerated a little. An hour later, his face was ugly, and he stopped suddenly, turned around, and looked behind him. There was no one behind him, but after waiting for a while, a ray of mysterious light came swiftly from the distance. When he got closer, Yang Kai saw clearly that it was a flying secret treasure that looked like a building boat that he had seen before. On the tall ship, a slender figure stood on the deck, looking into the distance, and after seeing Yang Kai, he quickly turned around, as if to order something to others. Not long after, the boat flew in front of Yang Kai and landed slowly. Miss Qin. Yang Kai looked at Qin Yu and several Void King Realm guards who came down from the building, and said with a gloomy expression, "Miss Qin, what does this mean? Follow all the way, do you think I can't notice it?" After hearing this, Qin Yu said with an apologetic expression, "Your Excellency, don't blame me, I didn't intend to follow, but your speed is too fast, and this building boat of my Qin family can't catch up, so I followed all the way." Yang Kai frowned, his face softened a little, and he said, "Miss Qin, you mean you have something to do with me?" "Probably." Qin Yu nodded upon hearing this. "I have nothing to do with Miss Qin, I don't know why you are looking for me." Yang Kai looked puzzled, but instinctively rejected this frail woman. In front of her, Yang Kai always had a feeling of insecurity. "Actually, it's nothing, it's just that I have a question I want to ask your Excellency." "One question? Well, may I ask your surname? Is this the problem?" Yang Kai was stunned. "Of course not." Qin Yu pursed his lips into a smile, suddenly coughed lightly again, and waited to breathe before he said, "This is not what I want to ask." Yang Kai nodded and said, "My surname is Yang." It turned out to be Brother Yang. Qin Yu understood, and immediately moved his lips, and a voice came into Yang Kai's ears. "Dare to ask Brother Yang, is there really no treasure on the Ascending Dragon altar? Vote for recommendations, monthly tickets, your support is my biggest motivation." Chapter 2002 Reject. Dare to ask Brother Yang, is there really no treasure on the Ascending Dragon altar? Qin Yu's voice was accurately transmitted to Yang Kai's ears. Why would Miss Qin ask such a question? Yang Kai looked at Qin Yu in astonishment, looking extremely surprised. Qin Yu looked at Yang Kai deeply, a pair of clear and flawless beautiful eyes looked directly at Yang Kai's eyes, as if he wanted to look into the depths of Yang Kai's heart. Yang Kai looked at him indifferently, and suddenly, he frowned again, and said in a low voice, "Miss Qin means. Could it be that the dozen or so treasures on the Rising Dragon altar are not all illusions?" Hee. Qin Yu smiled, "I'm not sure about myself, I just asked casually." At that time, only Brother Yang, you and Brother Duan and Zongshang were near the Rising Dragon altar. "Everything is checked by you." Yang Kai shook his head and said, "Anyway, I didn't see the treasure, and according to my observation, those two didn't get any benefits." "So that's the case, but the concubine is thinking too much." Qin Yu nodded apologetically. "Is this what Miss Qin wants to ask?" "Yes, I'm really sorry to delay Brother Yang's time." It doesn't matter, since there is nothing else, then I will leave." Yang Kai clasped his fists and was about to leave. "Brother Yang, wait," Qin Yu suddenly stopped him. "What's the matter?" Yang Kai frowned, feeling a little displeased. Otherwise, seeing that the other party was a weak woman with a good temperament, he would not bother to talk to the other party. After all, he and Qin Yu had no intersection before. "Brother Yang, calm down, I just want to ask, Brother Yang, are you going to find the entrance to the second floor?" "So what?" Yang Kai didn't deny it. "Brother Yang, do you know where the entrance is?" Yang Kai shook his head. He only knew that there was a beam of 5-color light connecting heaven and earth at the entrance. How could he know where the 5-color beam of light was exactly? Saran didn't tell him this at the time. However, since it is a beam of 5-color light connecting the sky and the earth, it should not be difficult to find it. As long as the distance is not too far, you should be able to find it. But seeing Qin Yu's mysterious expression, Yang Kai suddenly realized that things might not be as simple as he imagined, and couldn't help but change his expression. "Miss Qin knows where the entrance is." "I don't know the exact location either." Qin Yu shook his head apologetically. Yang Kai was speechless immediately. Yu said with a smile again, although I don't know the exact location, I do know a general idea. Saying so, she suddenly chanted in a low voice, among the mountains, there are misty clouds, mountain streams and clear springs, and beams of light appear. Among the mountains, misty clouds, mountain streams and clear springs, beams of light appear. Yang Kai repeated with a frown. Exactly, Yu nodded, although the five-color beam of light at the entrance reaches the sky and the earth, if you don't look for the right place, it is impossible to find it. Even if you pass by, you may miss the opportunity. Is this what you read from the classics? Yang Kai looked at her in surprise. Yu nodded. Miss Qin is really well read and knowledgeable. Yang Kai was extremely impressed. A slight blush appeared on Yu's pale face, and he seemed more energetic in an instant. He shook his head and said, Brother Yang is absurd, I just like to watch some messy things, and I can't be in the elegant hall. In fact, my concubine now I have to look for the entrance to the second floor, if Brother Yang doesn't mind, how about walking with me? She actually extended an invitation to Yang Kai. Yang Kai heard the words, looked up at the secret treasure of the Luxuan behind her, with an expression of emotion on his face. If you have this boat, you can save a lot of energy, and you can even rest on the boat to maintain your energy, which is also a good idea. But, I'm used to being alone, so I appreciate Miss Qin's kindness. Yang Kai thought it over, but declined Yu's proposal. Yu suddenly had a look of disappointment, but he didn't force it, but nodded and said, in this case, the concubine will not bother Brother Yang, I wish Brother Yang good luck. You too, leave. Yang Kai cupped his fists and turned to leave. I don't know how to praise. After his figure disappeared, a guard beside Yu stared at the direction where Yang Kai disappeared and snorted coldly, with a dissatisfied look on his face, obviously feeling worthless for Yu. Yu smiled slightly and said, it's just that he acts cautiously. How could it be related to ignorance of flattery? I think it's normal for him to choose this way. That's miss, you are kind and kind. The guard looked annoyed. By the way, miss, why did you ask him like that before? Aren't all the treasures on the ascending dragon altar fake? Perhaps, but, what's more, what I read from the classics is somewhat different, and I don't know what's going on in the specific situation. After saying a few words, Yu suddenly coughed violently again. The guard turned pale with shock, and hurriedly said, Miss Xiao, it's better to go back to the boat, it's windy outside. Yu nodded quickly, turned around and walked towards the building. At the same time, somewhere on the first floor, there is a petite woman with a striking crescent-shaped birthmark on her face. This woman is Mo Xiaoqi, who entered the five-color pagoda with Yang Kai and separated. At this moment, Mo Xiaoqi is riding a monster that looks like a lion and a tiger under his crotch. The monster has a ferocious face, and its hair exudes snow-silver color. It has a huge figure, and the hot air from its nostrils seems to contain an inexplicable force hit the ground and corroded the ground into small pits and pits. If anyone is here, they must be surprised. Because the thing Mo Xiaoqi rides under his crotch is the famous silver-haired liger. Although this kind of monster does not inherit the blood of the ancient Holy Spirit, it is also extremely difficult to deal with. Qualifications are different. When you reach the peak, you can grow to the 10th or even 11th level. In other words, it is a martial artist who can rival the Void King realm or even the Tao Origin realm. There are even legends of ligers and tigers of the 12th rank who have cultivated to the Emperor Senior realm. And this silver-haired liger is obviously not an existence that can be compared to the source of Tao. It only exudes the breath of the 10th order peak, but it should not be underestimated. The silver-haired liger is ferocious and aggressive by nature, and it is not something that ordinary warriors can subdue. Even if it is a strong emperor, it may not be successful. The most likely result is that the liger will fight to the death, and finally try its best and died. But now, this majestic silver-haired liger is used by Mo Xiaoqi as a means of transportation. Instead of being dissatisfied at all, he obeys his words, pointing east and dare not go west, and the guide will not go north. It is really unbelievable. And in front of Mo Xiaoqi, there is a strange beast about the size of a palm, which is flying. This strange beast looks a bit like a bat, which is inconspicuous, but judging from the power fluctuations in its body, it is also a 10th order monster, of monsters. The flying bat, like the silver-haired liger, is an extremely rare species. I don't know what method Mo Xiaoqi used to get along well with these two monsters and make them obey her. Not to mention whether these two monsters were subdued by Mo Xiaoqi after entering the five-color pagoda, or whether they existed in the first place. Little bat, hurry up and find the entrance. I'll give you delicious food. This way. Xiaoyan, hurry up and follow, don't be so slow. Mo Xiaoqi sat on the back of the liger, giving orders, apparently looking for the entrance to the second floor. The flying bat, which Mo Xiaoqi named Little Bat, seemed to have some special abilities. He led Mo Xiaoqi along the way, and soon came to a place surrounded by mountains. On the mountain stream, there were clouds and mist. The mountain peak is straight to the sky, and the top cannot be seen, which is very strange. And in a certain place among the mountains, there is the sound of mountain springs ding-dong, which can be heard endlessly. The flying bat flew directly to the vicinity of the mountain spring, and began to dance around a certain place. Mo Xiaoqi quickly drove the ligers to follow. When she came to the place, she looked up and laughed, it's not hard to find. I must be the first one, hee hee. When she was about to move forward, she suddenly remembered something and said, that's right, let's see where Big Brother Yang is. While speaking, she took out a round bead from her interspatial ring, and punched a few spells into it. After a while, she showed a look of disappointment, and gritted her teeth. It's really abominable, in this ghost place, the sound bead it doesn't work, is it because the law of heaven and earth is too broken? Forget it, Brother Yang must also come here, Little Bat, you just wait here, and when you see Brother Yang, take him to the second floor to find I. After giving an order, she took out another piece of jade slip, poured her spiritual thoughts into it, left some information, and handed it to the flying bat, and then happily rushed forward. Not far ahead, the brilliance flashed by, and Mo Xiaoqi and the ligers disappeared. The flying bat stayed where it was, but it just circled around once, then suddenly landed next to a pile of rocks, and disappeared into the ground. On the third floor of the five-color pagoda, Lan Xuan strolled, looking around at the surrounding environment. There was a faint fluorescence on her body, and that fluorescence seemed to have an inexplicable power to resist all dangers. Suddenly, she stopped in a secluded valley, and after perceiving it carefully, she couldn't help but look happy. This is it. While speaking, she took out many formation discs and formation bases from the space ring, and was busy nearby. 2 days later, she arranged everything, took out a large amount of source crystals and piled them up nearby, and then began to sit cross-legged on the ground, silently practicing profound arts, and began to hit the bottleneck of the Tao source realm. As time passed, Lan Xuan's delicate body exuded an inexplicable attraction, and suddenly there were many firefly-like things in the surrounding area. These things looked like the starlight absorbed by Yang Kai in the Starlight Channel. There are some similarities. But if you perceive it carefully, the two are completely different in essence. The starlight in the Starlight Channel is like a catalyst, which can prompt the Saint Yuan in the warrior's body to quickly transform into the source power. But in the starlight here, there are many broken laws of heaven and earth. As the starlight entered his body, Lan Xuan sensed the power of the law, and the aura fluctuations on his body became stronger and stronger. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. Chapter 2003 Golden Crystal Grass. 5 days after entering the five-color pagoda, somewhere on the first floor, Yang Kai descended from the sky with an indifferent expression on his face, and landed beside the other two warriors, staring at the corpses of the dead monster beasts on the ground. Unlike Yang Kai's indifference, the other two warriors were extremely excited. These two warriors, one wearing blue clothes and the other wearing white clothes, are both men, and their cultivation bases are also at the third level of the Void King. The three of them did not inform each other of their names, but only knew each other's surnames, and the reason why they gathered here was only because they joined forces temporarily. After separating from Qin before, Yang Kai has been looking for the entrance to enter the second floor. He never thought that after coming here, he met these two warriors. The two showed up and briefly explained the situation with Yang Kai. Only then did Yang Kai learn that the two of them had found some rare golden crystal grass, but the golden crystal grass here was guarded by 4 iron-armed gods Ni, whose skin was extremely hard and had amazing natural defenses. After a confrontation with the 4 iron-armed gods Ni, they failed to gain any advantage, so they had to withdraw temporarily, thinking of finding another helper to deal with the 4 monsters. It happened that Yang Kai passed by here, so he showed up to invite him. After listening to their explanation, Yang Kai immediately decided to join the gang. Although I don't know what the golden crystal grass is, but since it can keep the two Void Kings in the third level realm, it must be of great value. It's just 4 monsters, so it probably won't waste much time. Furthermore, he didn't take the 2 Void King 3 layers very seriously, even if they had any conspiracy. Yongkai felt that with his current strength, he could handle it. After some inquiring, Yongkai finally found out that the golden crystal grass is a rare spirit grass that can help warriors refine their bodies. Even if it is directly swallowed and refined, it can also increase the strength and defense of a warrior's body. If the medicinal materials are refined into Jinjingdan, the effect will be even better. And it is precisely because of Jin Jingsao that the iron-armed god Ni gathers here to survive. As soon as the 3 of them got together, they shot unceremoniously. Of the 4 iron-armed gods, the largest one has a cultivation base of the 10th peak, which is equivalent to the peak of the Void King realm. As long as it is given some more years, it is no problem to be promoted to the 11th rank. The other 3 small ones, they are almost at the level of the Void King's 2nd layer realm. If it's an ordinary monster, the 2 warriors can handle it. At worst, a tie is still possible. However, the iron-armed god Ni has amazing defense, infinite strength, and is not afraid of death. The previous confrontation caused the 2 of them to suffer a lot and did not benefit. But after Yongkai joined, the situation is completely different. Although Yongkai also concealed his own strength, it is no problem to be responsible for restraining the big iron-armed god Ni. The other 2 teamed up and used all their secret treasures to kill the 3 small ones. Afterwards, the 3 of them joined forces, and the last big one failed to escape. Brother Yang is really amazing. He is still able to do a job with ease under the hands of this vile animal, and he is unscathed. Zhao admires it. The man in blue seemed to have a forced smile when he said this. That's right, this slightly longer iron-armed god Ni caused me and Brother Zhao to be hit hard before. I didn't expect Brother Yang to be able to deal with it for so long. Sun is ashamed. The man in white also spoke. Road. You 2 are absurd, it's just that the movement is more flexible, although it is powerful, but if I don't entangle it too much, it will naturally have nothing to do with me. Yongkai said lightly. Zhao and Sun looked at each other, and didn't say anything, but let the matter go with a ha-ha. After all, when the 3 of them teamed up to deal with the last iron-armed god Ni, they also saw Yongkai's performance, and it was not just agility. For a while, both of them felt some fear towards Yongkai. Now that the 4 beasts are dead, let's deal with them first. The blood, fur, and teeth of iron-armed god Ni are all good materials, so they shouldn't be wasted. The man surnamed Zhao suggested. Exactly. Especially their furs are most suitable for refining defensive secret treasures. The man surnamed Sun also answered with a happy face. At that moment, the 3 of them stopped hesitating and used their means one after another to deal with the 4 iron-armed gods. Not long after, the 3 of them all showed satisfaction, and they got the same amount of materials, leaving only some flesh and bones in place. Then there is only the golden crystal grass left now. I don't know how many there are, but I hope there are a lot of them. The man surnamed Zhao looked fierily at a cave ahead. Go in and have a look. Yongkai smiled slightly, and took the lead, walking towards the cave. Zhao and Sun looked at each other and hurriedly followed. The cave is dark and damp, and there is an inexplicable smell that makes people want to vomit. There are many bones of other monsters near the entrance of the cave. The 4 iron-armed gods, Ni, obviously made their home here. After a short walk, the 3 of them came to the bottom of the cave. And in front of that, there is a stone pier-like existence, about 5 zhang in radius, with more than a dozen small grasses exuding metallic luster growing on the stone pier, each of which is only 2 fingers long. The 3 of them released their spiritual thoughts, and after confirming that there was no danger here, they approached the stone pier one after another. Tisk tisk, there are 13 plants. The man surnamed Zhao said happily. It's hard to tell. The man surnamed Sun frowned, thinking of another question. Yongkai chuckled and said, since there are 13 plants, then the 3 of us will each take 4 plants, and as for the remaining 1 plant, it will be converted into the corresponding source crystal, and the person who takes the golden crystal grass will take out the source crystal to compensate for the other. The 2 of you will be fine. Brother Yang is so careful, let's do it like this. Zhao and Sun naturally had no reason not to agree, and nodded quickly. At that moment, the 3 of them divided up the 12 golden crystal grass plants one by one, and the 3 of them discussed for a while, and Yongkai finally bought the last one with a price of 5,000 yuanjing. After a lot of work, everyone is happy. This cooperation is a pleasure, I hope there will be another chance next time. The man surnamed Zhao clasped his fist at Yang Kai with a smile on his face. Yeah, Brother Yang is quite capable. I really hope we can cooperate with Brother Yang again. The man surnamed Sun also said. There is a chance. Yang Kai casually said, since this matter is over, I will leave now. Brother Yang is destined to meet again. Zhao and Sun hurriedly clasped their fists back. Yang Kai nodded, turned around and went towards the layman. When he got to the entrance of the cave, he suddenly turned around and said, aren't you two going to look for the entrance to the second floor? The man surnamed Zhao laughed and said, of course I want to go, but Zhao spent a lot of time in the previous battle, so I want to recover here for a while. Brother Yang, please first. The man surnamed Sun said that he also meant the same thing. Yang Kai showed a clear look, nodded without saying anything, and left the cave straight away, while the other two sat down cross-legged, took out the recovery pill from the space ring, stuffed it into the mouth, closed their eyes and adjusted their breath. Stand up. For a while, the cave was silent. After a long time, the man surnamed Sun suddenly opened his eyes and said in a low voice, he should go far away. It's been so long, can't he still stay nearby? The man surnamed Zhao continued. Brother Zhao, why did you tell me not to act rashly just now? The golden crystal grass is so rare, and he let him take 5 plants for nothing. Moreover, from the way he bid, he seems to have a lot of source crystals on him. If you can kill him, you think the two of us teamed up are his opponents? Brother Zhao snorted coldly when he heard this. What, although he did perform well and concealed his strength, how could you and I be different? With 2 against 1, what are you afraid of him doing? The man surnamed Sun had an unconvinced expression on his face. It's because you don't know his horror. The man surnamed Zhao snorted. I remember I told you before, I came from the Dragon Rising altar, right? At that time, I saw this man kill Kuisha with a single knife. Killing him, Kuisha is in front of him, he doesn't even have a chance to resist. Kuisha from Washaman. The man surnamed Sun was shocked when he heard this. Yes, how do you think we compare to Kuisha? Naturally not as good. Although the Washui sect is not a very powerful sect, it is slightly inferior to the Raging Fire Palace, but I have heard of Kuisha before. That's why I didn't let you do it. I didn't remember it when I saw him before, but when I saw him make a move, I realized that he was that person. If you can kill Kuisha with 1 knife, you and I, if we join forces, we will definitely not be his opponent, and we will be in danger for you and me. So that's the case, thanks to Brother Zhao reminding you in time, otherwise if you fall out with that person. The man surnamed Sun had cold sweat on his face. Forget it, let's not talk about it. Fortunately, this person seems to have little knowledge. He doesn't even know what the golden crystal grass is useful for. He still asks you and me intentionally or unintentionally. It's really interesting. Yeah, this person is really strange. Since he is so powerful, how come he has never even heard of Jinjingsao? The man surnamed Sun also looked puzzled. Isn't this better? It's cheaper for you and me. Since he doesn't know the golden crystal grass, he won't know it either. Golden crystal grass will only grow in places where rare minerals gather. In other words, there are definitely rare minerals underground here. Mines. The man surnamed Zhao smiled slightly. Now that he has gone far, there is no need to delay. Let's do it quickly. If we find Emperor-level minerals, then you and I will be prosperous. Emperor-level minerals are not so easy to find. It is rumored that Emperor-level minerals can only be seen in the Sea of Stars. This is just the first floor of the 5-color pagoda. But, I am satisfied with Daoyuan-level minerals. Quote. While the two were talking, they stopped hesitating and used their own means to blast towards the stone pier in front of them. After a while, they blasted the ground into a big hole, and then the two changed their tactics again, using the power as transformed into various moves, and it is continuously digging down. Sure enough, there is a ghost. Not far away, Yang Kai, who used the secret technique, nothingness, to hide his own aura and existence, snorted coldly. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2004 Huge Ore. Earlier, Yang Kai felt that Zhao and Sun were acting differently. After all, the iron-armed god Ni's cave was dark and damp, and the smell was unpleasant, but the two of them stayed to meditate to recover after getting the golden crystal grass, which obviously explained some problems. How could they choose to continue to stay in that environment if there were no benefits in it? So Yang Kai pretended to leave, but actually hid in the vicinity, quietly investigating. At this moment, as soon as he felt the traces of the two using their strength, he immediately affirmed the judgment in his heart. But in this situation, it is not easy for Yongkai to kill people and steal goods. After all, although Zhao and Sun concealed something from him, they didn't really do him any harm. It looks like it's time to make up for the knowledge about various materials in the astral world, otherwise, I will definitely suffer similar losses in the future. Yongkai didn't know what there was in the underground that was worth digging by Zhao and Sun, but it was inconvenient for him to show up directly, so he could only continue to hide. The movement over there continued to spread, and soon, a large pit was dug out in the ground of the cave, and Zhao and Sun jumped into it one after another and continued digging. Half a day later, at the entrance of the cave, Zhao and Sun shot out one after the other, but instead of being happy, they both frowned, as if they were fruitless. It's fucking unlucky, you wasted half a day's work for nothing. The man surnamed Zhao cursed. That's right, who would have thought that this would be the case? If I knew this was the case, I might as well just leave, hey. The man surnamed Sun also sighed. Forget it, time is fate, we can't force it, let's hurry up and find the entrance to the second floor, we don't know when the 5-color pagoda will be closed, we have to find more benefits quickly, especially the Daoyuan if so, it will be of great use to you and me. In a few words, the two of them had no intention of staying here any longer, and sacrificed their own flying treasures one after another, and left through the air. After a while, Yongkai's figure suddenly appeared from the void, staring at the direction where the two disappeared, with a thoughtful look on his face. Judging from the previous conversation between the two, it seemed that there was no benefit in falling from the cave, otherwise they wouldn't be so upset, but judging from what they said, it seemed that they didn't say that there was no benefit in going underground. This made Yongkai puzzled. With a flash of his figure, he returned to the cave again, and when he reached the deepest point, he fixed his eyes and saw a big pit in front of him. Yongkai jumped in. Not long after, both feet landed on the ground, and after letting go of the divine sense, the situation underground was immediately clear at a glance. The efficiency of Zhao and Sun is really good. After all, they are warriors at the 3rd level of King Shu. In just half a day, they dug this underground into a cave with an area of about 100 feet. And it shows no signs of collapsing. Yongkai watched in amazement, and couldn't help admiring the means of the two of them. But in this burrow covering hundreds of feet, there is only one thing, a huge and complete ore. The ore does not know what kind of mineral it is, and it is light blue in color, as if it has grown a lot of moss, but if you look carefully, you find that it is not moss, but the color of the ore itself. The edges of the ore have been mined, so Yongkai can clearly see that the ore has an irregular shape, but it is as big as 10 houses. And not far in front of Yongkai, there were still some traces of being attacked on the ore. There are quite a few marks, some a few inches deep, and some just like scratches. These traces were obviously left by Zhao and Sun before. Yongkai suddenly understood why Zhao and Sun had such annoyed expressions when they walked out of the cave. It turns out that this underground is not without benefits, but this benefit, the two of them can't take it away, so they can only sigh in despair. Such a large piece of ore cannot be accommodated in any space ring. Zhao and Sun obviously knew this, so they wanted to knock some off this piece of ore and take it away. Those remaining traces are the best proof. It's a pity that this ore seems to be extremely hard. With the strength of Zhao and Sun, they can't destroy it. In the end, they can only reluctantly discard it to avoid wasting time. Yongkai's eyes were shining brightly, and he laughed. His space ring is no different from other people's, and naturally it cannot accommodate such a large piece of ore, but besides the space ring, he also has the mysterious boundary orb. Back then, a man as big as the Dharma body was stuffed directly into the mysterious boundary bead by Yongkai, let alone such a piece of ore. It is much smaller and more delicate than the Dharmakaya of that year. This ore exists on the 1st floor of the 5-color pagoda, and it is definitely not an emperor-level mineral. Yongkai estimates that it is at most a Daoyuan-level mineral, or a Void King-level mineral. It's so huge and worth a lot of money. Now that the Dharma body has practiced the sky-devouring warfare method, it is time to devour and refine a large amount of materials. This ore can be a good resource for the Dharma body to become stronger. Thinking of this, he no longer hesitated, but sat down cross-legged directly, and immediately burst out his divine sense, using his own spiritual consciousness to completely wrap this huge ore. Then, Yongkai let out a muffled shout, and the power of his consciousness poured out. The next moment, the huge ore in front of him disappeared and appeared in mysterious Shaoji. After doing all this, Yang Kai's body couldn't help shaking, his face turned slightly pale, and there was a burst of needle-like pain in his head. He didn't lose his face in panic, but quickly took out the spirit pill used to restore his consciousness and stuffed it into his entrance, refining and absorbing it. Time passed slowly, and another half-day passed before Yang Kai breathed a sigh of relief and slowly opened his eyes. The consumed consciousness has basically recovered, and with the help of the 7-color warming spirit lotus, Yang Kai's consciousness recovery speed is dozens of times faster than ordinary people. Otherwise, with his current state and the effort just now, at least he would have to recover 10 times. It will take half a month to act again. With a sweep of divine sense into mysterious Shaoji, Yang Kai found that the huge ore had been moved to the side of the Dharma body. And at this moment, the Dharmakaya is a little different than before. Although it is still as tall as a mountain, it is undoubtedly much smaller than the last time Yang Kai saw it, and around the Dharma body, the refined impurities have been spread more than 10 feet high, thick layer. Yang Kai waited and watched for a while, only to see that there were discarded gravels falling from the Dharma body, rustling continuously, which was quite spectacular. Yang Kai was very satisfied. Judging from this speed, the shortest time was half a year, and the longest time was 1 year. The Dharma body could help him, and he would never be put on hold because of inconvenience. He withdrew his consciousness, jumped out of the hole, went outside to identify the direction, and then left straight away. Another 7 days later, Yang Kai frowned and looked at the mountains not far ahead, with a look of anxiety on his face. He has been looking for the entrance to the 2nd floor these days, but unfortunately he has not found it. Qin Yu's words were still in his ears that day, and he didn't feel that the other party would deceive him, so he followed Qin Yu's instructions and kept searching for places with mountains. I searched for several places in succession, but found nothing. He also didn't know if the mountain range in front of him was the target he was looking for. But always have to check it out. With a flash of his figure, Yang Kai moved forward. Not long after, the man came to the mountains, and he looked up, his face couldn't help being happy. Because the place is surrounded by mountains, and the clouds and mist above the head are steaming, it fits the scene with the first 2 sentences Qin Yu said. Just when he secretly felt that he should have found the right direction, a small black shadow suddenly shot out not far away, and Yang Kai instinctively stretched out his hand to swipe, and the mighty power shot out from his palm, attacking the black shadow. The black shadow's reaction was extremely fast. It was shooting straight at Yang Kai, but at the moment Yang Kai shot, he suddenly made a 90-degree turn, straight into the sky, and then fell like a meteorite. Straight it fell, and there was a constant creaking sound from his mouth. The tone is a little aggrieved, but also a little hasty. Yang Kai was stunned when he heard this, and stood there without moving, staring at the black shadow that suddenly shot towards him. Only then did he see clearly that the black shadow was a palm-sized monster, which looked a bit like a bat, with its wings vibrating. Its figure was extremely flexible, and its speed was extremely fast. But at this moment, this bat-like monster was suspended in front of Yang Kai, a pair of small beast eyes staring at Yang Kai, revealing a sense of recognition. Yang Kai was surprised. Before he could figure out what the monster was trying to do, he heard it squeak, then opened its mouth, and spit out a jade slip from its mouth, signaling to Yang Kai. For me, Yang Kai frowned, but he still understood the little beast's intentions. The little beast squeaked again, as if it was responding to Yang Kai, and then slowly flew in front of him, its mouth loosened, and the jade slip fell down. Yang Kai took the jade slip and poured his spiritual thoughts into it. After a while, he laughed dumbly. It turned out to be Shaoqi. It wasn't until this time that he realized that the little beast in front of him was a flying bat raised by Mo Shaoqi in captivity, and that he stayed here to meet him and guide him along the way. Yang Kai couldn't help feeling warm. But it looks like I really did not find the wrong place, and that girl Mo Shaoqi entered the 2nd floor so much earlier than me. It is really amazing. Lead the way ahead. Yang Kai put away the jade slips and smiled at the flying bat. This little beast seemed to be able to understand human words, and upon hearing the words, it immediately turned around and flew in one direction. But at this moment, a shout suddenly came from not far away. My friend, stay. While speaking, there was a sound of fluttering clothes. Yang Kai's face sank. Just now he was only concerned about the spirituality of the flying bat, but he didn't notice that someone was approaching, and he reacted immediately after hearing the sound. With a sweep of his consciousness, Yang Kai knew that there were 6 warriors nearby, and all of them were at the Void King stage. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2005 Natural Gravity Field. Yang Kai turned his head and looked, and he saw 6 Void King stage warriors meandering over. The leading person is imposing, with extraordinary temperament, and his face is like a crown jade, and he can be seen from a good family background. And, it turned out to be someone Yang Kai knew. The young palace master of Feixiong Palace, Ningyuan City. In the black market that day, Ning Yuancheng and Mo Shaoqi had some conflicts because of the snake egg. Yang Kai hid his appearance and used the tiger's skin as a banner, and frightened the group of people from Feixiong Palace with threats. But he didn't expect that on the first floor of the 5-color pagoda, he would meet people from Feixiong Palace again. But at this moment, beside Ningyuan City, Lu Yiji, the strong Daoyuan second layer, is not seen. After all, this time the 5-color pagoda is opened, the Daoyuan realm cannot be entered, so Ningyuan City can only bring some Void King realm into this place. I don't know what method they used to gather together, and they also met Yang Kai here. Although he was an acquaintance, Yang Kai didn't panic at all. He hid his appearance that day, and believed that Ning Yuancheng would not recognize him at this moment. What's the matter? Yang Kai turned his head, looking at Ning Yuancheng faintly and asked. This is not nonsense. If there is nothing to do, how can I stop you? A Void King realm behind Ning Yuancheng said coldly. Yang Kai sneered and gave the speaker a cold look. Don't be rude, Ning Yuancheng shouted in a low voice, seeming to reprimand the guard, but immediately raised his eyes to look at Yang Kai, clasped his fists with a smile, and said proudly, this friend is flying down to the young palace master of the Saint Palace. Ningyuan City, I don't know how to call my friends. If you have something to say, you don't need to be close. Yang Kai's expression was still indifferent. He also had a pretty good understanding of the other party's personality, so he naturally knew that it was impossible for him to be so polite, but it was only because he didn't know his identity and origin that he tried it out. Maybe, keeping up with what happened in the black market also has something to do with it. Once bitten by a snake for 10 years, I am afraid of well ropes. Yang Kai's reaction and demeanor made Ning Yuancheng frown, as if he was quite displeased, but he just pondered for a moment before opening his mouth and said, in that case, let's cut to the chase. This little beast just now seems to have brought something to you. Your mightiness. So what? Yang Kai was immediately amused, thinking to himself that it was because of that jade slip. Ningyuan City might have regarded that jade slip as some kind of treasure, and suddenly became a little bit interested in seeing money. What is that? Ning Yuancheng's eyes lit up when he heard it, and he asked quickly. What does it have to do with you? Boy, you are so brave. The guard who spoke before was furious and shouted loudly, you only need to answer obediently when the young palace master asks you, how can you have the qualifications to ask questions? Ning Yuancheng waved his hand and stopped the guard's next move. His expression gradually turned cold, and he didn't have much patience to continue dealing with Yang Kai, and said, it's like this, I am very interested in your little beast, I don't know your excellency, can you give up your love and be willing to give? Not interested. Yang Kai refused without waiting for him to finish. Not to mention that this little beast is a 10th order monster, it is not easy to cultivate, even if it is Yang Kai's own, it is impossible to sell it casually, let alone, it is still Mo Shaoqi's. After speaking, he turned and left. My friend seems to be toasting and not eating fine wine, take him down. Ning Yuancheng saw that Yang Kai was so shameless, and he didn't bother to put on a show, tearing his face, and ordered in his mouth. Hearing the words, the 5 Void Kings immediately wanted to take action. But at this moment, the flying bat that had been flying in midair suddenly opened its small mouth and let out a series of sharp chirping sounds. The sound waves visible to the naked eye, like ripples, crazily spread forward, covering everyone in Feixiong Palace in a fan shape. In an instant, the faces of the 5 Void King realms and Ning Yuancheng couldn't help but feel their eardrums stinging painfully, their whole bodies were churning with qi and blood, and the internal energy in their bodies was tumbling uncontrollably. Everyone looked horrified, and quickly mobilized their strength to resist the sharp cry, suppressing the tumbling of blood. After regaining consciousness, Yang Kai and Xiao Beast had already traveled far away, only seeing their backs from a distance. Damn it, chase me, no matter what, you have to grab that little beast. That little beast seems to be able to find geniuses and treasures, and it might play a big role in this place. Ning Yuancheng shouted angrily. The other 5 dared not to be negligent, and they used their body skills to chase them out. But after a while, they lost sight of Yang Kai and the little beast. Where did you go? Ning Yuancheng looked around, but found nothing at all. Returning to the young master, I don't know, they seem to have disappeared suddenly. A guard also looked puzzled. It should be nearby, search for me. Can the thing that the young master likes run away? Ning Yuancheng said with a ruthless expression. The five immediately dispersed and searched around. Not long after, a guard shouted in surprise, "Young palace master, come and take a look, this seems to be the entrance to the second floor." What? Ning Yuancheng was overjoyed when he heard the words, and then he said angrily, "Fart." The entrance to the second floor is a 5-color beam of light that reaches the sky and the earth, which is very obvious. Don't you think that the young master is blind and can't see it? No way, there's nothing here, huh? Ning Yuancheng paused, then suddenly looked up at the sky, and sure enough, he saw a beam of 5-color light, connecting the sky with the address, standing there. He frowned, and took a few steps back. The 5-color beam of light in front of him disappeared just like that, and after a few steps forward, the beam of light reappeared. So amazing! Ning Yuancheng was shocked. That's right, young palace master, it seems that you have to stand at a specific position to find this entrance, otherwise, you won't be able to notice it even if you are close at hand. The guard who found the entrance said in surprise. The guy from the Star God Palace is really treacherous. Fortunately, my young master has a deep blessing and is blessed by the heavens. Otherwise, how can I find this entrance? Ha 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 ha, if that's the case, then why hesitate? Go to the second floor. That guy must I also went to the second floor, I don't believe he can escape my palm. Young palace master, that little beast might not only be able to find geniuses and earthly treasures but also find entrances. It's really a strange beast. The young master is even more important to get. Maybe you can find the entrance to the third floor. Go to the third floor and have a look. Ningyuan City's face was full of fiery colors, and he got into it with 5 guards. Among the 5-color beams of light, the next moment, figures flickered, and 6 people disappeared one after another. But after they entered the second floor, Yongkai had long since disappeared. At the same time, somewhere on the second floor, Yongkai was galloping, and the flying bat was leading the way. Yongkai knew that it was looking for Mo Shaoqi, so he leisurely followed behind it, while secretly looking at the situation on the second floor. There seems to be no difference between this place and the first floor. The aura of heaven and earth is extremely thin, which is not suitable for cultivation, and the laws are extremely broken. However, the second floor seems to be much more dangerous than the first floor. Yongkai explored for so long on the first floor, and didn't encounter too many traps and restrictions. But after coming to the second floor, he could feel a lot of hidden power fluctuations under his divine sense release perception. Those are obviously man-made or naturally generated restraining forces, and once they break into a certain range, they will trigger a forbidden attack. But with the flying bat leading the way, Yongkai didn't have to worry about any danger. This little beast seemed to have a very strong perception of danger, and could often avoid many traps and restrictions in advance. Half a day later, a beast and a man passed a canyon. The canyon was about 100 feet wide, and the wind in the valley was fierce. Yongkai checked around and confirmed that there was no danger. But at this moment, the flying bat flying to the top of the canyon suddenly squeaked sharply, and there was an extremely panicked meaning in the voice. Yongkai was startled. Before he had time to find out what happened to it, at this moment, his whole body suddenly sank. At this moment, there seemed to be a terrifying suction force from under his feet, causing his body to fall down involuntarily. Yongkai's complexion changed drastically. Hastily circulated the power in his body, trying to resist the inexplicable suction. But soon, Yongkai realized that all of this was futile. With his Void King 3rd layer cultivation base, he couldn't stabilize his body. After this calamity, he fell from the sky to the canyon in a spin. There was the sound of the wind whistling beside the ears, and the speed of the fall was getting faster and faster. The strong wind was blowing on the face, and the pain was unbearable like being cut by a knife. Yongkai finally panicked now. He immediately understood that he might have encountered some powerful restriction, and not only did he not notice this restriction, even the flying bats didn't notice it. Such a strong restriction is unlikely to be man-made, and has a high probability of being born. This kind of prohibition is generally difficult to detect, and by the time it is detected, it will be too late. Falling at this speed, no matter how strong Yongkai's body is, even activating the Immortal 5 Elements Sword and Dragon Transformation secret technique, he will definitely end up smashed to pieces. This way of death is too miserable. The sharp cry of the little beast continued to reach the ears, but it was a little out of tune because of the fast-falling speed. Yang Kai opened his eyes, unable to see the situation below clearly. He had no choice but to release his divine sense, and after some investigation, the situation was finally better. He locked the little beast's position with his spiritual sense, flicked his fingers, and a golden bloodshot shot out, but in this situation, he couldn't maintain enough aim at all, and he couldn't roll the little beast back to his side. In desperation, Yang Kai stretched out all 10 fingers, and dozens of golden blood threads flew, weaving into a big net, and finally netted the little beast back. The next moment, he hugged the little beast and escaped into the mysterious boundary bead without thinking. A moment later, at the bottom of the canyon, there was a soft bang, the mysterious boundary bead rolled a few times, and then there was no movement. Only then did Yang Kai dare to release his spiritual sense to investigate the surrounding situation. But the attraction of this place is so terrifying that even his divine sense is a bit irresistible, and the deformation of being pulled can't spread much distance at all. He thought for a while, and calmed the little beast with words, letting it stay in the mysterious boundary bead, but he jumped out suddenly. The next moment, Yang Kai's whole body was stuck to the ground by a suction force, and it seemed extremely difficult to even move his fingers. Natural gravity field. Yang Kai's expression couldn't help changing several times. To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn update group at Woixiaowati. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2006 Heavy Soil. The star realm is vast, with countless dangerous places. Not to mention the star realm, even in the star field, there is also such a natural gravitational field. In a certain place, the gravity is several times, more than 10 times that of ordinary places, which often catches people off guard and suffers a big loss. But the natural gravitational field here is even more frightening. Even Yang Kaishu King's third-layer cultivation base is stuck in place, so one can imagine how powerful it is. That is definitely thousands of times the gravity of ordinary places. Natural gravitational fields are extremely rare, and the conditions for their formation are very harsh. Although Yang Kai has encountered them before, he can break free from those gravitational fields with a little effort, but here. His face gradually became solemn, and he kept urging the strength in his body, but he could only move slowly, and it was impossible to fly. Looking up, at an unknown height, there is a shadow of a line of sky. Such a high distance, if you can't fly, it is impossible to go up. Looking around again, Yang Kai's eyes shrank slightly. This canyon is actually not very long, only about 100 feet long, but just below this Bazong Canyon, there are piles of white bones, including monster-sized bones and human-shaped bones, most of which have already fallen to pieces and scattered on the ground. Only a very small number can barely maintain the original shape. There was even a corpse. It was obvious that he died not long ago, and the blood nearby hadn't even dried up. The ground was covered with pieces of meat, and the internal organs were splattered far away. It looked horrible. This person is obviously the Fenggalan city martial artist who entered the 5-color pagoda this time. Just like Yang Kai, he was accidentally pulled off when flying over the canyon, but in the end, without Yang Kai's means, he ended up being smashed into powder. Before this person died, he must be very unwilling. Yang Kai thought to himself, after all, they have already cultivated to the level of Void King realm, who would have thought that one day he would fall to his death in a certain place. If this method of death spreads out, I'm afraid it will make people laugh out loud. But how could the gravity here be so terrifying? Yang Kai couldn't figure it out. He had encountered natural gravity fields before, but none of them could compare with this place. As a last resort, he unleashed the 5 elements Immortal sword, enveloping himself in multicolored rays of light, and after a while, he unleashed the dragon transformation secret technique, which finally allowed him to walk slowly at the bottom of the canyon at a turtle's speed. After half a cup of tea, Yang Kai dispersed the Immortal 5 elements sword and dragon transformation secret technique, panting, and fell to the ground. Maintaining these 2 secret techniques for a long time consumes a lot of energy for him, but the effect is so small that the gain outweighs the loss at all, so he simply doesn't waste his power anymore. You won't be trapped to death in this ghost place, right? A sad thought came to Yang Kai's mind. After a while, he frowned again, with a look of astonishment on his face. No, the aura here. He suddenly discovered that the aura of heaven and earth in this place was extremely strong. Among the star realms, he didn't know how rich the aura of heaven and earth was in the best cave, After all, he had only come to the star realm not long ago, and he had never been to the main rudder of any major sect. But the aura of heaven and earth here is not comparable to that of the chief rudder of the Jade Feather sect, nor is it comparable to the cave he rented in Fenggalan City. The rich aura of heaven and earth here is almost beyond the limit of Yang Kai's imagination. Sitting here, there is no need to exercise, the surrounding spiritual energy will automatically drill into the body, and after a while, the power consumed by Yang Kai before will be restored. If something goes wrong, there must be a demon. Since Yang Kai entered the five-color pagoda, he felt that the aura of heaven and earth around him was extremely thin, whether it was the first floor or the second floor, it was the same situation. Suddenly, there appeared a range with such a rich aura of heaven and earth that it was difficult to care about it. Moreover, because of the terrifying natural gravity field here, all the aura of heaven and earth is firmly absorbed in a place less than 3 feet away from the ground, and cannot be diffused at all. This created a spectacle. Below the canyon, in the space 3 feet above the ground, the aura was as dense as a thick mist, and there were even signs of the aura turning into threads. Yang Kai had just experienced a change before, so he didn't pay much attention to it. Now he observed it carefully and was shocked. This underground, is there any treasure? A thought unstoppably emerged in Yang Kai's mind. Only this guess can explain the weirdness of this place. Thinking of this, Yang Kai couldn't help getting a little excited. He braced himself up and stood up, urging the strength in his body. With his 5 fingers together, dozens of golden blood threads emerged leisurely, and those golden blood threads twisted together, gradually turning into a drill-like existence. In Yang Kai's soft drink, the golden blood thread turned into a drill that spun and bombarded the ground. The next moment, there was a loud bang. Glittering. Dozens of golden blood threads suddenly disintegrated, revealing their original appearance again, and could no longer maintain the appearance of the drill bit, and somewhere on the ground, fire was shining and sparks were flying. After a while, Yang Kai stared at a rice grain-sized pit on the ground with his eyes wide open, and exclaimed, "So hard." Now he can finally be sure that there are definitely treasures underground. Because the soil on the ground, according to his observation, is ordinary soil, but for some unknown reason, there is an invisible force that makes them hard, and even the golden blood can't cause much damage. With one blow, only a dent the size of a grain of rice was left, and in the blink of an eye, the dent disappeared. The ground repeats back to level. That inexplicable power actually has the ability to repair itself. Yang Kai looked fiery, but helpless. Because if he can't dig the ground, he won't even think about taking the treasures from the ground, but if he doesn't take the treasures from the ground, in his current state, he can't even break through the ground. This has completely fallen into an endless loop, just like which came first, the egg or the chicken. It would be great if Xiao Xiao was here. Yang Kai suddenly missed the little ability. The Stone Puppet Clan's innate supernatural power devours minerals to strengthen his body, but it can also travel freely underground without any restrictions. If Xiao Xiao hadn't separated from him, Yang Kai could use Xiao Xiao's power at this moment to let it go into the ground to get the treasure. It's a pity, Yang Kai doesn't know where Xiao Xiao is now. As for the Dharma body and the mysterious boundary orb, although it can be regarded as a stone puppet, but that piece is too big, and its own impurities have not been tempered completely, Yang Kai estimated that it would not be able to exert the ability to escape from the ground. When he was full of disappointment, Yang Kai's eyes suddenly lit up again, and he thought of something. He immediately took out the mysterious boundary bead, penetrated his spiritual sense into it, and communicated with the flying bat. Since the name of this little beast is Flying Heaven Dundabat, then Dundee must be no problem. If you can use its power. The little beast is a 10th order monster. Even if it doesn't have the intelligence comparable to human beings, it is not without IQ, and it is not a problem to have a simple communication with Yang Kai. After a while, Yang Kai carefully stretched out his hand and tapped the mysterious boundary bead. Guanghua flashed, and the little beast suddenly appeared beside Yang Kai. Yang Kai's expression was solemn, his divine sense had been enveloping the little beast. Once he realized something was wrong, he had to take it back immediately. After all, the pressure here was too terrifying, and the 10th order monster beast didn't know if it could resist it. In case if he exploded and died, he and Mo Shaoqi would have no way to explain it. Fortunately, the situation is not too bad. Although the little beast showed an extremely hard and painful expression after it appeared, the whole body seemed to be a lot shorter, and there were creaking sounds of bones in the body, and the little beast's eyes gradually grew. It became blood red, as if oozing blood. But after a while, it seemed to get used to it, and squeaked twice at Yang Kai. Yang Kai was overjoyed, and said, "Then it's up to you. If you think the situation is not right, come up quickly, don't force it." The little beast squeaked back twice, then turned around and sank toward the ground as if falling into water. However, its speed was not fast, and after 10 full breaths, its figure gradually disappeared. Yang Kai waited anxiously on the spot, intending to use his spiritual sense to investigate the situation of the little beast, but he was powerless at all. As soon as his divine sense left the sea of consciousness, he was completely deformed by the terrible gravity, and he couldn't detect the underground place at all. Condition. It's time for a cup of tea. A stick of incense. Time passed. An hour has passed. Yang Kai's complexion gradually turned ugly. Just when he thought that the little beast's trip was probably a meat bun beating a dog and never returning, a small head suddenly appeared at his feet, and with the extremely difficult creaking sound, the little beast reappeared. Yang Kai was overjoyed and quickly responded. Urging his spiritual consciousness desperately, he tried his best to wrap up the little beast and bear most of the pressure for it. After the little beast's body was completely drilled out of the ground, Yang Kai stretched out his hand to grab it, and at the same time his figure flickered, and even the man and the beast went directly into the mysterious boundary bead. Somewhere in the mysterious boundary pearl, Yang Kai sat cross-legged on the ground, and the little beast was panting on his knees, as if he had experienced a great battle, a little exhausted. "Thank you." Yang Kai lightly combed its fur and comforted it. The little beast raised its weak eyelids, glanced at him, and then fell silent. After a while, it suddenly got up, then opened its small mouth, and spit out a khaki-colored thing about the size of a pigeon egg. Yang Kai stretched out his hand to pick it up, but he didn't know that the thing looked small, but the moment he got it, he staggered and almost fell to the ground, as if something 10,000 catties fell into his hand. Shocked, he quickly used his strength to stabilize his figure, and finally he didn't make a fool of himself. The little beast squeaked, as if gloating. Yang Kai didn't care about it, but observed the earth yellow, irregular thing in his hand solemnly. His expression changed several times, and finally exclaimed, "Heavy soil." What the little beast brought back from the ground was actually a piece of heavy soil. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. Chapter 2007 Earth Vein Orb. Chapter 2007 Earth Vein Orb. Toothache, for several days, painful, can wake up with pain at night. Heavy soil and weak water are treasures of the same level. Both are extremely heavy and have their own characteristics. It is rare for ordinary warriors to see such treasures. Even those warriors with advanced cultivation bases are extremely rare to come across such treasures. Mo Shaoqi has a weak water bead, which seems to be refined from weak water. That day in Yuqing Mountain, she activated the power of the weak water bead to restrain the Luanfeng cub. Luanfeng is the holy spirit of ancient times. Even young beasts are not easy to provoke. The death of so many people in Yuqing Mountain that day is the best explanation, but after being imprisoned by the weak water beads, they are unable to break free, which shows the weakness of the weak water beads. Power. Mo Shaoqi's background is not young, so it's not surprising that there are treasures like weak water beads. And the heavy soil is an existence that is as famous as the weak water. Even to some extent, it is more rare and precious than weak water. Because the heavy soil is not only extremely heavy, but the place where it exists will produce a natural gravity field, which can be used for warriors to cultivate in it, and can also be refined into various treasures. No matter what secret treasures, as long as some heavy soil is added, all of them can become heavier, stronger and abnormal, and not easy to destroy. Moreover, there are some magical characteristics in the heavy soil. If the heavy soil is used to refine alchemy furnaces or refining furnaces, then these furnaces can increase the chance of success in alchemy and refining. Alchemists and weapon refiners are crazy about heavy soil. Not only that, but because of the rich spirituality and earth-attributed atmosphere of the heavy soil, if spiritual things are planted on the heavy soil, the growth cycle of those spiritual things can be shortened by a large amount. In other words, if there is a spiritual grass that takes 100 years to grow, then it may only take 10 years, 5 years, or even less time to mature if it is planted on heavy soil. Such a treasure is not only sought after by many warriors, but also coveted by those big sects. Which sect doesn't have its own medicine garden? The medicine garden of each sect has cultivated a large number of spiritual herbs, but the more precious the spiritual medicine, the longer the growth cycle is terrifying. Decades to hundreds of years are considered short, and hundreds of years to thousands of years are also normal. and even thousands of years to mature. These growth cycles and long-term elixirs cannot be cultivated by ordinary individual warriors, and they don't have so much energy and time. Only sects have this power, but they also need to invest a lot of time. But once you have heavy soil, the situation is completely different. A sufficient amount of heavy soil may allow an acre of medicine garden to continuously produce various spiritual herbs and miraculous medicines. If it works well, it is enough to make a faction go to the next level. It's a pity that the rareness of heavy soil also makes people feel desperate. Some heavy soils that occasionally appear in this world are also used to refine some secret treasures, which are not enough to be used in medicine gardens. Yang Kai was able to know the heavy soil because he had been practicing the Immortal 5 Elements sword. The Immortal 5 Elements sword needs the treasures of the 5 elements to practice, so he pays a lot of attention to the treasures of the 5 elements attribute, and the heavy earth is undoubtedly the supreme treasure of the earth attribute. To some extent, it is even more precious than the true sun essence, comparable to the warming god lotus. Such a small piece of heavy soil the size of a pigeon egg is enough to refine several secret treasures, but Yang Kai is naturally not satisfied. He believes that there is more heavy soil deep in the canyon, otherwise how could the gravity field here be so terrifying? After thinking for a while, he put down the heavy soil, and then took out a lot of recovery elixir from his space ring, put it on the palm of his hand, and handed it to the little beast. The little beast was so exhausted that it didn't even have the strength to move, but when it saw these panacea, its eyes lit up, it opened its small mouth, and swallowed them all. Creak creak. The pills are like jelly beans, crunching when being chewed by small animals. Do you want spirit pills? I still have a lot here. Yang Kai smiled slightly, waved his hand, and took out more than a dozen jade bottles. The animal eyes of the little beast became brighter and brighter. Very good. Help me go to the ground to get this thing, there are as many panaceas as you want. Yang Kai smiled, pointed at the heavy soil, and lured it for profit. The little beast's eyeballs rolled, and it was obvious that it was very excited. After a while, the little beast squeaked twice, which was regarded as a response to Yang Kai. Inside the mysterious boundary bead, it is not affected by the gravity field, so Yang Kai and the little beast meditated and rested in it, and both recovered very quickly, and with those panacea, within 2 hours, the little beast was alive and well again. Yang Kai took it with him and reappeared in the canyon. Another hour later, the little beast came out from the ground. Yang Kai had quick eyes and quick hands, and brought it back to the mysterious boundary orb to recuperate. After a while, Yang happily got another piece of heavy soil the size of a pigeon egg. This situation, again and again. 5 days later, the heavy soil in front of Yang Kai had piled up. It was already as big as a tabletop, and it was as thick as 3 fingers. So much heavy soil is simply appalling. You know, only a piece the size of a fingernail is enough to elevate a secret treasure to a higher level, and it is a priceless treasure. The tabletop is as thick as 3 fingers. Jealous to see, regardless of his identity, he took action to snatch it. Yang Kai finally believed that the interior of the 5-color pagoda was indeed an ancient land. If not, how can there be such a treasure here? It is also thanks to the special terrain of this canyon and the terrifying gravity field, otherwise such benefits would have been taken away by others. Anyone who passed through this canyon and found something abnormal would have fallen to his death. Only with the help of the mysterious boundary orb, he escaped the catastrophe and gained a huge harvest in the end. In fact, he should have thought of it earlier. The anomaly below the canyon is so obvious, what else in this world can cause it besides heavy soil? The little beast is still busy outside, but at this moment the gravity field of the canyon has weakened to the point where it can be ignored. After all, the heavy soil is basically transferred to the mysterious boundary bead by Yang Kai, and the gravity field caused by the heavy soil is naturally it also disappeared. So Yang Kai doesn't need to worry about the safety of the little beast. At this moment, with a thought in his mind, under the operation of power, he rolled up all the heavy soil in front of him. Putting it outside, he definitely doesn't have this ability. I am afraid that only the Emperor's senior realm can achieve this level. But here is the mysterious small world, the space inside the mysterious boundary orb, and the mysterious boundary orb is Yang Kai's secret treasure. After some refining, Yang Kai can dominate everything here. Even so, flying with so much heavy soil is still extremely strenuous. After finally bringing the heavy soil to the vicinity of the medicine garden, Yang Kai looked at the empty medicine garden, smiled knowingly, and used his skills to bury the heavy soil in the medicine garden. In this way, he will have a medicine garden against the sky. If he sees the seedlings of geniuses and earth treasures in the future, he can transplant them and shorten the growth cycle. As long as they are not the kind of spiritual things that die immediately once they are transplanted, there is no need to worry. Survival problem. Of course, Yang Kai also left a small piece of heavy soil for his own cultivation of the immortal 5-element sword. Checking his own results, Yang Kai was very satisfied, and then, he disappeared in place with a flash of his figure. When it reappeared, it was already below the canyon. Without that gravitational field, the rich aura at the bottom of the canyon finally had no restraint and dissipated upwards one after another. There was no sign of the little beast, so it should still be busy underground. Heavy soil is so rare, Yang Kai naturally didn't want to miss a single bit, so let the little beast work hard to find it underground. It would be better if he could find it. He started to walk, and not long after, he came to a skeleton and reached out his hand to take off the space ring on the skeleton's hand. The skeleton did not know what died here. All the flesh and blood had long since disappeared, leaving only white bones and a space ring. Of course, Yang Kai has no reason to let go of the wealth of the dead. After some searching, Yang Kai found as many as 50 space rings below the canyon. In other words, there are more than 50 people who accidentally fell down and died while passing by this place, and most of these people should be warriors in the Void King realm. Excluding the warrior who died not long ago, the rest should be they all belong to the Star God Palace. After checking it slightly, Yang Kai felt a little emotional. As expected of the disciples of the Star God Palace, everyone's rings are rich in wealth, not only a large number of source crystals but also some secret treasures and panacea. But it is a pity that some rings have been worn for too long, and the ring itself has been damaged, and the contents inside cannot be taken out at all, and even if some things are taken out, the spirituality will be lost and useless. Yang Kai will keep the useful ones and discard the useless ones. Suddenly harvested more than 300,000 low-grade source crystals, more than 5,000 middle-grade source crystals, and no high-grade source crystals. As for the Void King level secret treasures, there are as many as 30 or 40 pieces, and there are 2 Daoyuan level secret treasures. This made Yang Kai feel a little emotional. The last time I went to the black market to sell a lot of panacea secretly, I only got less than 200,000 source crystals, but now I just walked down the canyon, and the harvest is so huge. All of a sudden, he solved his urgent need of not having enough money. After confirming that there were no omissions, Yang Kai stood there contentedly and waited. Not long after, the little beast got out of the ground from a certain place and flew in front of Yang Kai, opened its mouth, and spit out something from it. Yang Kai took a look and found that there was no heavy soil, so he was a little disappointed. But taking a closer look at these things, he became joyful again. Earth vein beads. There are so many earth vein beads. This time, all the things the little beast found from the ground were earth vein beads. Earth veins are the product of a certain degree of rich spiritual energy in heaven and earth, but the main rudder of every sect is established in places with earth veins, so as to ensure the cultivation of disciples. And the more powerful the sect, the better the ley lines it occupies, and those of the small sects can only occupy some lesser ley lines. Every year, there are many sect families fighting for the land that owns the ley lines, resulting in countless deaths and injuries. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. Chapter 2008 Want Daoyuan Fruit. Earth veins cannot be moved. Once they are moved, their roots will be destroyed, so they cannot last forever. So if you want a good land vein, you can only get it by grabbing the territory. However, there are always exceptions to everything. There are some earth veins that have existed underground for many years. Due to some special reasons, the energy condenses, and finally converges into a special existence, that is the earth vein beads. A ley line bead is equivalent to a ley line, it contains all the energy that a ley line should have. Earth vein beads are also very rare. Yang Kai has been in his hometown star field for so many years, and he only saw one in the Purple Star Treasure House, and he finally put it under the medicine garden in mysterious Shaoji to maintain the aura in the medicine garden and cultivate spiritual grasses and wonderful medicines. But at this moment, the flying bats have collected as many as 4 from the ground. Yang Kai was overjoyed and quickly took it over, carefully examining it in his hand. Soon, he found that these 4 earth vein orbs were of a higher grade than the ones he had taken from the Purple Star Treasure House back then. No matter the total amount of energy stored inside or the degree of purity, they were far from what the Purple Star could match. If the earth vein orbs obtained from the purple star treasure house are low grade, then the 4 in hand are at least medium grade, and even the largest one should be high grade. The richness of the aura it exudes made Yang Kai amazed. Yang Kai was surprised and delighted that there were so many earth vein orbs under the canyon. But after careful consideration, Yang Kai felt that this was a matter of course. If it weren't for these earth vein beads, how could the aura of heaven and earth here be so strong? Although the heavy earth is precious, it cannot form such a rich aura of heaven and earth, only the earth vein beads can. However, the existence of heavy soil is probably also the root cause of the formation of earth vein beads. The natural gravitational field and its horror, the aura of heaven and earth that wandered nearby would naturally sink to the bottom of the valley, gather, condense, and suppress it underground, and after many years, the earth vein beads were produced. The 5-color pagoda has existed for a very long time, and it is impossible to verify the existence of this ancient battlefield. For tens of thousands of years, the aura of heaven and earth attracted by the gravity field has formed these earth vein beads. This explanation is quite reasonable. Yang Kai just thought for a while in his mind, and he almost guessed the truth of the matter. Although the value of these earth vein beads is not as high as that of Chengtu, they are definitely not cheap. Even if they are placed in a large sect, it is enough to raise the richness of heaven and earth aura inside it to a higher level. With a flick of his wrist, Yang Kai sent them under the medicine garden in mysterious Shaoji. Supplemented with the previous one, 5 earth vein beads, and so much soil, the medicine garden in mysterious Shaoji can be said to be the best medicine garden in the star realm. Yang Kai couldn't wait to cultivate some spiritual herbs to see the effect. Half a day later, Yang Kai sighed and gave up his plan to continue searching. It seems that all the benefits of the underground have been taken away. Without the heavy soil and earth vein beads, the environment below the canyon has restored the same environment as other places. The aura of heaven and earth is extremely thin, and it is not suitable for long-term stay. Only then did he wave his hand at the little beast, and with a push of strength, he flew up into the air. Without the involvement of the natural gravity field, he flew up the canyon without difficulty. The flying bat continued to lead the way, looking for Mo Shaoqi's trace, and Yang Kai followed unhurriedly. 3 days later, Yang Kai passed a small hill, and suddenly glanced down as if feeling something, smiled coldly, stopped his pace, and said, "My friend, are you coming out by yourself, or do you want me to force you out?" There was no movement below, only the rustling of the leaves in the wind. Stubborn. Yang Kai snorted coldly, raised his palm, and a streak of golden blood shot out, hitting a certain position below. At this moment, a blue light flashed from below, meeting the golden bloodshot. With a bang, the golden bloodshot was bounced back, and there was a middle-aged man sitting there cross-legged. His face was pale, and he stared at Yang Kai with resentment. His eyes were full of sternness. Murderous. Yang Kai was taken aback. With his eyesight, he could tell right away that the other party was seriously injured, and it was not just an ordinary injury, it seemed to have been injured to the root. This situation is completely different from what he had guessed before. He originally thought that this person was hiding here and wanted to sneak attack him, but he didn't know that he was hiding here to heal his wounds, but he was shot out of his whereabouts. For a moment, Yang Kai couldn't help but look embarrassed. However, he was still a bachelor, and when he realized something was wrong, he quickly clasped his fists and said, "I'm sorry, there seems to be some misunderstanding. Friends, don't blame me. You can continue to heal your wounds, and I will take my leave first. Isn't my friend coming to take my life? If you want to do it, hurry up, why bother crying and pretending to be merciful?" What happened even more unexpectedly happened to Yang Kai. After listening to Yang Kai's explanation, the middle-aged man did not relax his vigilance, instead he shouted angrily, as if Yang Kai really had some mortal hatred with him. Yang Kai frowned and said, "My friend misunderstood me, and I don't know you, why should I take your life?" After all, this matter was caused by his momentary mistake, so the other party's attitude was bad, and Yang Kai didn't care. While speaking, he took out a jade bottle and threw it at the person, saying, "This is a bottle of healing pill, it should be able to ease your situation." After speaking, he left immediately. The middle-aged man was stunned for a moment. At this time, he seemed to realize that Yang Kai didn't mean it, otherwise Yang Kai would have killed him when he was weak. He reached out and took the jade bottle, opened the jade bottle, sniffed it lightly, and was sure that it was indeed a healing medicine, and the look on his face suddenly struggled. Seeing that Yang Kai was about to go far away, this person finally made up his mind and said in a concentrated voice, "Wait a minute. Yang Kai stopped in his tracks, glanced back at him, and sighed, "What else do you want, my friend? Although I destroyed your hiding place by taking action, but if you change the place, I will also pay you a bottle of healing pill. Let's just forget about it, don't push yourself too far." When the middle-aged man heard this, he didn't get angry at all. Instead, he smiled mysteriously and said in a low voice, "I didn't mean to tell you this." "Then what do you want?" Yang Kai seemed a little impatient. "Do you want Daoyuan fruit?" The middle-aged man stared at Yang Kai and said slowly. "What?" Yang Kai's face turned serious, and he immediately turned around, and after a few flashes, he came to the middle-aged man, his eyes glanced at his space ring, and he said in a deep voice, "You just said Yuanguo." "Exactly, my friend heard me right, I did say Daoyuanguo just now." The middle-aged man nodded. "You got Daoyuan fruit?" Yang Kai looked at him in surprise. The middle-aged man nodded again, and said calmly, "The Heavenly Martial Holy Land has placed 3 Daoyuan fruits in the 5-color pagoda this time, and Zhang was lucky enough to get one of them." Before Yang Kai asked where the Daoyuan fruit was, the middle-aged man surnamed Zhang smiled slightly and said, "My friend, don't worry too much, even if you kill me, you won't get that Daoyuan fruit. I hid it in a safe place before healing it." Yang Kai couldn't help coughing lightly. "Why should I kill you?" "That's not sure." The man surnamed Zhang chuckled, "Although my friend doesn't look like a villain, otherwise I wouldn't have left just now. I'm afraid I've already moved to murder and seize treasures, but Daoyuan fruit is extremely precious, especially for people like you and me. I can't guarantee that you can save my life in front of such a treasure." "What you said makes sense." Yang Kai nodded, agreeing with him. Even if ordinary warriors don't take the initiative to kill people and seize treasures, whether they can maintain their original intentions in front of rare spiritual objects like Daoyuanguo is really a matter of opinion. "But, you took the initiative to call me back, and told me about Yuanguo, what do you want to do?" Yang Kai looked at him suspiciously. "Of course I want to give the Daoyuan fruit to a friend." The man surnamed Zhang said with a solemn expression. "Are you kidding me?" Yang Kai squinted at him with an expression of disbelief. The man surnamed Zhang shook his head. "When a person is about to die, his words are good. Why should I joke with you about this?" Yang Kai shrank his eyes and said lightly, "I don't think you are a person who will die soon." The man surnamed Zhang gave a wry smile. "Before, in order to escape for my life, I had already burned 80% of my blood essence. Even if I survived, my cultivation would have to plummet. What's more, I was also poisoned, and even my sea of consciousness was polluted." Quote. Yang Kai's complexion changed, and he released his consciousness to check him carefully, only to confirm that the other party was not lying. The man with the surname Zhang is actually strong on the outside but hard on the inside, holding on to the last bit of strength to stay alive. Maybe he has taken some panacea before to hang himself. With such an injury, even if no one disturbed him, he would not survive for 2 days. Yang Kai sighed. "If you are only physically poisoned, I might be able to help you, but even your spiritual consciousness is polluted. I can't recover." Zhang is already mentally prepared, friends don't need to worry about it. The man surnamed Zhang was very free and easy, and he laughed when he heard this. "I don't know you before, whether you live or die has nothing to do with me, but, you called me back and said you would give me the Daoyuan fruit. How can there be such a good thing in this world? Tell me, what do you want?" Quote. "My friend is indeed a smart person." The man surnamed Zhang withdrew his smile and said, "There is not much time, so I'll cut to the chase." Yang Kai nodded, putting on a posture of listening. "I can give you the location of the Daoyuan fruit. After you take the Daoyuan fruit, no matter when you find someone to refine it, you must give it to the descendants of the Zhang family." The man surnamed Zhang said, "I am the head of the Zhang family in Fenggalan City, Zhang Gaoshuan. Although the Zhang family is not a big family in Fenggalan City, it has multiplied here for hundreds of years. Many people know that I, Zhang Gaoshuan, are in Fenggalan City. You go out afterwards, you can find out the location of my Zhang family by asking around a bit. If you take that Daoyuan fruit and refine it into a pill, if you fail, you will have nothing to say. If you succeed, you will have at least 3 Daoyuan fruit Dan. You only need to give 1 piece to my descendants of the Zhang family, and the rest will belong to you." To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote for recommendations, monthly tickets, your support, it is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users please go to read. Chapter 2009 Feeling Wrong. Chapter 2009 Feels Wrong. After hearing Zhang Gaoshuan's words, Yang Kai nodded and said, "This request is reasonable, I agree, but, you are not afraid that I will not keep my word?" Zhang Gaoshuan smiled wryly, "So what if I'm afraid? My life is not long. If there is no suitable person to entrust, the Daoyuan fruit will only last forever in this 5-color pagoda, and my Zhang family will not get any benefit, so I only have one. It's a gamble, but it's a pity that I don't have a soul contract, otherwise I don't have to worry about anything." "Then do you want me to swear?" Yang Kai grinned. Zhang Gaoshuan glanced at him, and said lightly, "Forget it, the oath, hee, I really can't help it, and I see that my friend's heart is not bad, so I did this. In addition, after my friend goes out, I want to ask, my friend has been in charge of the Zhang family for 10 years. 10 years, Yang Kai snorted coldly, my friend really knows how to speak like a lion. Is 10 years too much? Zhang Gaoshuan looked at Yang Kai in surprise, you have to know, what I gave you is a Daoyuan fruit, even if ordinary warriors spend their whole life, they would never want to see it. Your chances of being promoted to Daoyuan realm must be increased by at least 40% to 50%, as long as your friend's aptitude is not too bad, promotion is definitely a sure thing. Yang Kai said lightly, let's be honest, I can be promoted without Daoyuan fruit, so this thing is not too attractive to me. What a big tone, my friend. Zhang Gaoshuan was a little shocked now, he looked up and down Yang Kai, wanting to see if he was playing tricks, but unfortunately, Yang Kai's expression was calm. After a while, he sighed and said, it seems that your aptitude is really extraordinary, and even Dao Yuanguo can't make your heart beat. If that's the case, let's forget about 10 years, let's say 3 years. Yang Kai shook his head. Zhang Gaoshuan's complexion changed, and he said dissatisfiedly, then what do you think? 3 years is only 3 years. For a Void King 3rd layer warrior like you and me, it is not a long time at all. This condition is already loose enough. Yang Kai laughed and said, it's not a matter of 10 years or 3 years, I don't want to be bound by time, not even for a year, because I don't know how long I will stay in Fenggalan City. If I have to leave Fenggalan City for something, wouldn't it be a broken agreement and make me a demon for life? I won't do this kind of loss-making business. Zhang Gaoshuan was stunned, and then smiled, it seems that Zhang is right, my friend should be a person who keeps promises. Yang Kai will bargain with him, which means that he really wants to make this deal, and will abide by the agreement with each other, otherwise, why would Yang Kai be so troublesome, just agree, and he can ignore it afterwards. The inner demon mentioned by Yang Kai also gave Zhang Gaoshuan some confidence in him. If it is not a person who keeps the promise, it is absolutely impossible to give birth to demons because of the broken agreement. Well, I can promise you that during the time I am in Fenggalan City, I will help the Zhang family a little under the conditions within my ability. If your Zhang family makes any excessive demands, I will not. I agreed, and, they only have 3 chances to ask me. Yang Kai thought about it and said. 3 times. Zhang Gaoshuan fell into deep thought, and after a while he raised his head and said, okay, as you said, 3 times is 3 times. However, I need you to send me a message to the Zhang family. This is no problem, Yang Kai nodded. The two had reached an agreement on this, and at the moment, Yang Kai waited quietly, while Zhang Gaoshuan took out a jade slip and poured his spiritual thoughts into it, obviously leaving some last words. After a while, everything was in order. Zhang Gaoshuan handed the jade slip to Yang Kai, watched him solemnly put it away, and then he took a long breath and said, everything will be troublesome, my friend. The location of the origin fruit? Yang Kai asked. Zhang Gaoshuan smiled slightly, stretched out his hand and said, did you see the hill opposite? Dao Yuanguo is over there, the exact location. Speaking of this, Zhang Gaoshuan suddenly lost his voice, but while his lips were squirming, he still came over through sound transmission with his spiritual thoughts. Yang Kai quickly understood. Friend, bring Zhang's space ring back to the Zhang family, I don't need it anymore. Zhang Gaoshuan slowly took the space ring from his hand and threw it to Yang Kai. An hour later, Yang Kai came to the opposite mountain peak, and according to Zhang Gaoshuan's prompt, he found the place where he hid the Daoyuan fruit. It's really careful, Yang Kai said to himself. The patriarch of the Zhang family not only hid the Daoyuan fruit elsewhere, but also placed a restriction in the place where the fruit was hidden. This restriction must be guided by his own blood to be opened safely. If it is broken by brute force, the power of Dao Yuanguo will be destroyed. In other words, if someone really wanted to harm Zhang Gaoxuan, and even forced him to reveal the whereabouts of Dao Yuanguo, it would be impossible to succeed without his active cooperation in taking out the blood. However, after Zhang Gaoxuan was seriously injured and took out a drop of blood, the situation became more and more unbearable. Yang Kai estimated that he was lucky to live another day, and he might have to return to the west after half a day. Using Zhang Gaoxuan's previously taught method of breaking the restriction, he used his blood as a guide to pour it into the restriction. After a while, the restraining power disappeared, and a beautiful wooden box appeared on the spot. Yang Kai stretched out his hand, sucked the wooden box over, and slowly opened it. Immediately, a golden fruit about the size of an apricot was imprinted in his eyes, and the smell was pleasant, and there seemed to be it contained some magical powers, allowing warriors to feel the power of the laws of heaven and earth around them more clearly. The Daoyuan fruit is originally used to refine the Daoyuan pill, and it is used to assist warriors to advance to the Daoyuan realm. It is not surprising that it has such an effect. However, Yang Kai found that this Daoyuan fruit was a bit dry, and it seemed that many years had passed since it was picked, and there was a sign that the medicinal properties had passed away. Sacred land of heavenly martial arts. Yang Kai slowly shook his head. Deep in his heart he couldn't help but slander this top sect in the southern territory. When the warriors in Fenggalan City heard that the heavenly martial holy land had dropped 3 Daoyuan fruits into the 5-color pagoda, they almost went crazy. But now that he really got it, Yang Kai discovered that this source fruit is definitely a defective product in the storage of Tianwu Holy Land. Thinking about it, if it is really a high-quality Daoyuan fruit, Tianwu Holy Land would not be willing to take it out. But even if it's a defective product, it's still a Daoyuan fruit, and it's absolutely fine to use it to refine Daoyuan pills, but the number of pills produced may be slightly lower. Carefully putting away the Daoyuan fruit, Yang Kai jumped up and quickly disappeared into the void. 2 days later, under the leadership of the Flying Bat, Yang Kai came to a barren valley. After arriving here, the little beast seemed to be in a very happy mood. After a slight sway, it got into the soil and moved forward at an extremely fast speed. After a while, it came to the back of a dirt slope. Yang Kai frowned, and let out his divine sense to look forward carefully, and before he could see a clue, Mo Shaoqi's voice came from his ear, "Brother Yang." Yang Kai narrowed his eyes and followed the voice to confirm Mo Shaoqi's position, but he couldn't see her figure at all. She seemed to have used some secret technique to completely hide her whereabouts. When he was in Yuqing Mountain, Yang Kai discovered that Mo Shaoqi's concealment secret technique was extraordinary, and now it seems that he still underestimated her means. I don't know what she is doing so mysteriously. Yang Kai also swayed, cast the void secret technique, restrained his aura, and walked forward step by step. After a while, Yang Kai walked to the front of the slope, carefully looked at the past, only to find some traces. He couldn't help laughing and said, "Little Qi, what are you hiding here?" "Hush." Mo Shaoqi raised an index finger to his mouth, signaling Yang Kai to look forward. Yang Kai was puzzled, quickly squatted down quietly, followed the direction indicated by Mo Shaoqi, and glanced over there. Under the eyes, Yang Kai was greatly surprised. Because in the place about 10 miles in front, there are quite a few warriors gathered around. Roughly counting, there are dozens of them. They sit cross-legged on the ground in groups of 3 or 5, and use their own methods to pour their own power into a position in the center. "What are they doing?" Yang Kai asked in a low voice. "I don't know either. It seems that they have discovered some restriction and they want to work together to break it." Mo Shaoqi replied softly. "Oh." Yang Kai suddenly became interested. "Doesn't it mean that there are treasures if there are restrictions? Why didn't you join in the fun?" Mo Shaoqi frowned, shook his head and said, "I don't feel right. Maybe there is no treasure in the restriction." "What is it if it's not a treasure?" Yang Kai was surprised. "I don't know either, so I'm watching here." Mo Shaoqi answered naturally. Yang Kai couldn't help being speechless, but he was also very curious about what kind of restriction there was, and it took so many Void King Realm forces to break it. Generally speaking, the greater the power of the restriction, the more extraordinary the things hidden inside. The restriction that requires the joint efforts of dozens of Void King realms to break through, the treasures hidden in it are at least Daoyuan level treasures, maybe even Emperor level treasures. No wonder so many people can work together without incident. "What do you feel is wrong?" Yang Kai asked after thinking about it. It was more than 10 miles away, and there were so many warriors there. He didn't dare to use his spiritual sense to investigate rashly, so as not to reveal his whereabouts. It's hard to say, the closer you get to that side, the more flustered you feel, as if there is some danger. Mo Xiaoqi replied seriously. Are you sure? Yang Kai's expression changed. Generally speaking, warriors have their own telepathy, which is unclear, but once it appears, it means that something will happen to the warrior himself. Mo Xiaoqi came from an extraordinary background. Since she has this feeling, it means that there is a high possibility that something dangerous has been sealed by the restrictions there. I'm still in a panic now. Mo Xiaoqi patted his chest with his small hand, and, the little bat also feels this way. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote recommendation tickets, monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. Chapter 2010 Surprise Change. Of course Yang Kai knew that the little bat she was talking about was the flying bat that led him all the way here. This little thing was naturally sensitive, and thanks to it, Yang Kai avoided many restrictions and traps along the way. Since every person and beast has this feeling, it should be unmistakable. At the moment Yang Kai also stopped making a sound, hiding in the distance with Mo Xiaoqi, observing secretly. Taking a look, Yang Kai found an interesting place, that is, the warriors hiding around watching, not only him and Mo Xiaoqi, but also some guys who used secret techniques to hide their bodies and restrain their breath, are hiding in the void, are hiding in unknown places, all looking forward. Over there, dozens of Void King realm cracking restrictions seemed to have lasted for quite a while, and each of them consumed a lot of energy. They took out pills and stuffed them into their mouths, and continued to crack while refining and recovering. As the strength of dozens of people poured in, a cross-shaped symbol that radiated fluorescence and burned like a flame gradually appeared in the center of the chalk they gathered. The scorching power came up and down from there. Cross-flame seal. After seeing this scene, Mo Xiaoqi suddenly let out a low voice. You recognize? Yang Kai asked quietly. Mo Xiaoqi nodded lightly. I have seen it in the classics, but it is a very old sealing technique, and now basically no one knows how to use it. The principle of this kind of sealing is very simple, but it requires a lot of strength to assist, only then can it be done, and I don't know what is sealed underneath. I'll know in a while. Yang Kai answered. 10 miles ahead, when the cross-flame seal appeared, dozens of warriors who were cracking the seal suddenly became excited, and some people even shouted, Everyone, work hard, the restriction is about to be broken, and the treasure is about to appear in the world. The words uttered completely mobilized the enthusiasm of the warriors. Each and every warrior desperately mobilized their own strength, pouring it into the center continuously. As time passed, the form of the cross-flame seal became more and more complete and clear, and with the infusion of a large amount of power, the cross-flame seal seemed to gradually become unbearable. The burning flames began to rage, and there was even a crackling sound from inside the seal. At a certain moment, the cross-flame suddenly trembled, and in a burst of twisting and illusion, it suddenly shrank towards the center. The next moment, there was a loud bang. Countless raging flames flew around, and the violent power rolled up heat waves and shocks, blowing away dozens of Void King realms. Fortunately, everyone was prepared and sacrificed defensive secret treasures one after another, so although everyone looked a little embarrassed, they still no one was injured. The restriction has been broken. Someone shouted, with a sense of surprise in his voice. The rest of the people looked forward, and all of them were moved. In the place where the restriction originally existed, the cross-flame seal had disappeared. Instead, a large pit appeared on the ground, which was dark and seemed to be bottomless. Look! The numerous Void King realm fighters who had stabilized their stature just now couldn't hold back anymore. Each of them rushed towards the big pit at an extremely fast speed, trying to snatch the treasure before everyone else. Everyone's thoughts coincided with each other, and many people rushed to the big pit at once, and looked at each other. Hostility grew, and in an instant, around the big pit, a melee scene was staged. They joined forces temporarily because they wanted to break the restriction. Now that the restriction has been broken, naturally there is no need to join forces again. Even some martial artists who were watching the show in the dark showed their figures and rushed towards the big pit. Yang Kai and Mo Xiaoqi did not move, and a few thoughtful and careful guys did not show up. Not far in front of it, the light soon shined brightly, the power of secret treasures and martial arts was displayed, and people were injured and fell from time to time. Amidst this chaos, several people rushed into the big pit quickly. Seeing this, the others would not hesitate, and gave up their opponents one after another, and continued to chase. For a moment, above the big pit, there were only a few red-eyed warriors left, and the others all chased into the pit. It's so lively here. Suddenly, a voice appeared not far from where Yongkai and Mo Xiaoqi were hiding. Yongkai was startled, because although he had been paying attention to the situation at the big pit, he didn't relax his vigilance around him. He didn't notice anyone approaching him at all, and he didn't become vigilant until the sound sounded. Turning his head to look, Yongkai couldn't help shrinking his eyes. A dozen feet to my right, an old man with a wretched appearance, sloppy clothes and a goatee appeared there at some point, with one hand behind his back and the other stroking his beard, squinting his eyes and looking forward. People make money and birds die for food, why bother? The old man suddenly muttered again, with an unfathomable look. At this moment, the old man suddenly gave people a feeling of being out of the dust, making Yongkai big surprise. It's this old liar. Mo Xiaoqi also noticed the person coming, and after seeing his face clearly, he was furious, and immediately wanted to reveal his figure to teach this old guy who had lied to her. Yongkai waved at her. Although Mo Xiaoqi didn't know why Yongkai wanted to stop her, she nodded obediently. At this moment, the old man with the goatee took a step forward, and he came to tens of feet away in a blur, and then squatted down, looking at the Void King realm who was missing an arm and a leg, and kept howling. Musha. This warrior was severely injured in the scuffle just now, half of his limbs were cut off, he managed to escape with great difficulty, and finally collapsed here due to exhaustion, with blood gushing out like a fountain, which was spectacular. Brother, you are seriously injured. The goatee old man stared at him with a pitiful expression on his face, like a bodhisattva who rescued the suffering. Old mister, save me. The warrior stretched out his remaining arm, desperately grabbing at the old man, begging with difficulty. Saving a life is better than building a 7-level pagoda. This old man can't just ignore it. This broken limb injury is not easy to deal with. If it is not handled properly, you will be disabled for the rest of your life. Tisk tisk, what a pity. But, fortunately this old man has an ancestral elixir here, the 9-turn resurrection pill, which is enough for flesh and bones to bring back the dead, and this old man sees that he has a destiny with you, so he will sell you cheap. While talking, the old man mysteriously took out a pill from the space ring. Here comes a panacea. The warrior's eyes lit up, as if he saw a life-saving straw in the drowning. He nodded repeatedly, I'll buy it, how many source crystals do you want? It's not expensive, just give me your space ring. The old man said with a smile on his face. After saying that, he stuffed the so-called 9-turn resurrection pill into the warrior's mouth without any explanation, and then unceremoniously took off the space ring in his hand. Before the warrior could react, the deal had already been concluded. He rolled his eyes in anger, and passed out directly. Go to sleep, have a good sleep, wake up, everything will be fine. The old man grinned, and smiled lowly as if chanting a spell, showing his big yellow teeth. Brother Yang, look at this old guy, he actually started grabbing things, it's too much. Mo Xiaoqi was filled with righteous indignation. She and Yongkai hid in the dark, seeing what the old man had done. I thought this old guy was just a liar, but now it seems that he not only likes to lie, but also does robbery. How can Mo Xiaoqi bear it? It's really too much. Yongkai nodded seriously. I'll teach him a lesson. Mo Xiaoqi exclaimed, revealing her figure. But before she could take any action, the ground suddenly shook, and there was a rumbling sound from the ground, like thunder rolling past. Yongkai and Mo Xiaoqi's expressions changed at the same time, and before they could find out what happened, streamers of light shot out in panic from the big pit 10 miles away. It was the warriors who rushed in to grab the treasures before. There were dozens of these fighters when they rushed in, but now only half of them came back alive, and all of them were wounded, with panicked expressions, as if they had seen a ghost in daylight. After getting out of the big pit, he kept his body shape and fled crazily. In the blink of an eye, many warriors disappeared from the sight of Yongkai and Mo Xiaoqi. What happened underground? Mo Xiaoqi exclaimed. The situation is not right, hurry up. Yongkai made a decisive decision and wanted to take Mo Xiaoqi out of this ghostly place. Under his perception, he vaguely felt a strong life wave underground, and he quickly woke up. The speed was unbelievably fast, and the fluctuation was so strong that he had no intention of fighting against it. Ka-cha-cha. Suddenly, there was a crackling sound from the ground, and in the blink of an eye, large and small crisscross cracks appeared on the ground with a radius of tens of miles around the big pit. This is not over yet. From the cracks, there are strips of green vines. These vines seem to have their own life, constantly twisting and wriggling, and growing crazily. In an instant, the range of dozens of miles was like a group of demons dancing wildly, which looked extremely terrifying. Yang Kai and Mo Shaoqi had already leapt into the sky. But at the moment when they moved, a vine with the thickness of an arm suddenly appeared under their feet. The tip of the vine was as sharp as a sword, and a thrust pierced through the position where Yang Kai and Mo Shaoqi were before. It is conceivable that if the movements of the two were a little slower, they might have fallen into a hard fight. Ah! A scream came suddenly. Yang Kai was startled, turned his head to look, and saw not far away, a martial artist who had been hiding in the void was pierced through the chest by a sharp vine, hanging in midair. This martial artist is also at the level of Void King realm, but no matter how he struggles at this moment, he can't get rid of the shackles of the vines. In the blink of an eye, more vines wrapped around him, tightly entwining him. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. Chapter 2011 Wooden Mandrel. Immediately afterwards, there seemed to be the sound of drinking water. Visible to the naked eye, traces of bright red color spread from the vine, just like fresh blood, but the warrior wrapped in the vine disappeared instantly. There was movement. Not only that, but his whole body shriveled up, and soon became skinny, as if all his flesh and blood disappeared. Swallow blood essence. Yang Kai's face changed drastically. Of course he could see what had happened to that warrior. The flesh and blood essence of that man was sucked completely by the vine that pierced him in just 1 or 2 breaths, and he was so dead that he couldn't die anymore. That person is a Void King realm, and he is as vulnerable as a 3-year-old child in front of this vine. The wooden mandrel, it is the wooden mandrel, the one sealed underground is actually a wooden mandrel. At this moment, Mo Shaoqi suddenly screamed, and there was an obvious sense of panic in his voice. This was the first time Yang Kaido saw such panic. Even when she met the Phoenix Juvenile on Yuqing Mountain that day, she was safe and sound, but now after learning the truth, her face immediately changed color. Brother Yang, hurry up, we are not opponents, it can quickly recover itself by absorbing the essence of other people's flesh and blood. After Mo Shaoqi finished speaking, he suddenly stretched out his hand, and a flawless white chariot appeared in front of him. As soon as she pulled Yang Kai, the two of them got into the chariot at the same time. Immediately, Mo Shaoqi pinched the spirit Ju with his hand and continuously pumped power into the chariot. With a buzzing sound, there were more than 10 layers of forbidden light on the chariot in an instant. Look like. Immediately afterwards, Mo Shaoqi yelled softly, "Let's go." The chariot trembled slightly, and it was about to carry the two of them out of here. But at this moment, countless vines crazily spread from the underground cracks, or turned into whips, or gathered thorns, and crazily attacked the chariot. For a moment, the restraining light on the chariot flickered wildly, but fortunately, the level of the chariot seemed to be very high, and the restraint was quite powerful. The vine attack that could instantly kill Void King realm couldn't break through the restraint of the chariot. However, with so much power coming, the chariot was a little wobbly, and it was impossible to escape. After such a short delay, the chariot was tightly wrapped by vines. Mo Shaoqi's face turned pale. Moon blade. Yang Kai snorted coldly, opened his hands together, and a huge moon blade suddenly shot out, cutting several vines wrapped around the chariot. Although there were victories, Yang Kai was still ashamed, because he realized that he had underestimated the defensive power of these vines, and the huge moon blade only cut through 4 vines, and then lost its power. And the cut vine, in the blink of an eye, regrows a section and continues to wrap the chariot. Brother Yang, use fire power, other powers can't completely destroy these vines. Mo Shaoqi shouted to remind, and at the same time reached out to pat a cloth bag on his waist, and a vine like a dragon sprang out of the bag immediately. A fierce beast like a unicorn, covered in crimson, exuding the aura of a 10th order peak, opened its mouth wide and spit out a fierce flame from its mouth. As the ferocious flame passed by, those vines twisted and retracted as if they had been severely injured. When Yang Kai saw it, he immediately had a calculation in his heart. He activated the fire sword chi of the 5 elements sword chi, and condensed a long sword in his hand that looked like a burning flame, fall down. However, the severed vines did not grow back immediately, and the power of the fire element seemed to be able to restrain the vines. Mo Shaoqi was not idle either. After releasing the beast like a unicorn, she sacrificed a scarlet handkerchief and poured the source power into it, and the handkerchief immediately turned into a cloud of fire, burning all around. With the combined power of 2 people and 1 beast, they finally cleared the vines covering the chariot for a while. Before those vines wrapped around him again, Mo Xiaoqi had already stomped on the chariot. The chariot flew out in an instant, like an arrow leaving the string. At the back, countless vines opened their teeth and danced their claws, chasing after him, but they were thrown further and further away. After 10 breaths, the chariot finally escaped from the dangerous range, and the vines stopped chasing it. Only then did Mo Xiaoqi gasp for breath, with a face full of survivors. Looking back, there are countless vines flying around like tentacles in a radius of 10 miles, which looks creepy. Xiaoqi, what is a wooden mandrel? Yang Kai only had time to ask. It is the product of the psychic tree. It has its own mind and is extremely difficult to deal with. Depending on the type of psychic tree, the wood mandrel has different innate magical powers. The one we encountered does not know what kind of ability it has, but basically all wood mandrels are extremely difficult to kill, because the pure wood attribute represents vitality and recovery. The wooden mandrel should be an extremely dangerous thing, and I don't know how long it has been sealed. Its strength must have dropped drastically, otherwise, with our current strength, it is impossible to escape this catastrophe. The wooden mandrel is so terrifying. Yang Kai was stunned. Of course, Brother Yang, you must not underestimate it. There used to be a strong man at the emperor level who fell in the hands of Muji. Now that it has been released, it must be the first time to restore its strength. Judging from the previous situation, the best way for it to restore its strength is to devour the essence of flesh and blood of warriors like us. If it is broken, this second floor is no longer safe. Mo Xiaoqi's face changed when he said this. No way, the second floor has a lot of space, can't we just find a place to hide? What if it touches it? Mo Xiaoqi looked at Yang Kai, worried. Then what should we do? Go back to the first floor. Yang Kai frowned. The 5-color pagoda can only go up, not down. We can't go back to the first floor. Mo Xiaoqi frowned, and suddenly her eyes lit up. It's better to go to the 3rd floor. Yang Kai was stunned. How to get there? Didn't it mean that the 5-color pagoda only opened 1 or 2 floors this time? Give it a try. If you really can't make it up, there's nothing you can do. If you're lucky. Mo Xiaoqi smiled, and while speaking, put the unicorn-like beast into the bag, and again he released the flying bat and told it to look for the entrance to the 3rd floor. 3 days later, the two stood in front of a 5-color beam of light that stretched from sky to earth. This 5-color beam of light is exactly the same as what Yang Kai saw before. It is obviously the entrance to the 3rd floor, but Yang Kai tried it just now, and there is no response after he stepped in. It is not like before, he was teleported as soon as he stepped in, to the next level. He looked at Mo Xiaoqi helplessly, but the latter smiled mysteriously, and took out a secret treasure in the shape of a long shuttle from his space ring. As soon as this secret treasure appeared, Yang Kai's face changed slightly. Because he felt a different aura from this secret treasure, this is definitely not a Void King level secret treasure, nor even a Daoyuan level secret treasure. Dabao, this secret treasure in the shape of a long shuttle is definitely an emperor treasure. The emperor treasure itself has the power of law, and the several emperor treasures in his hands are like this, so they can exert great power, and the one in Mo Xiaoqi's hand is obviously also an emperor treasure. Although Yang Kai was shocked, but after thinking about it carefully, it was only natural. So he didn't rush to ask. This 9-star ban-breaking shuttle is a secret treasure given to me by Dianfeng before. It specializes in breaking all kinds of bans. Although I can't exert its full power with my ability, with the help of Brother Yang, I may be able to break the ban here and enter the 3rd floor. Mo Xiaoqi took the initiative to explain. What do I need to do? Yang Kai asked. It's like this. Mo Xiaoqi briefly explained to Yang Kai, and then taught him a set of techniques. Yang Kai remembered carefully. After a few simulations, he nodded at Mo Xiaoqi. Mo Xiaoqi understood, stretched out his hand and threw the 9-star breaking forbidden shuttle. When the spirit Jew pinched, the secret treasure leisurely became bigger, and it became 2 feet long. She took the lead in entering the 9 stars breaking the forbidden shuttle, and then beckoned to Yang Kai. After both of them entered, Mo Xiaoqi closed the 9-star breaking forbidden shuttle, looked at Yang Kai, and at the same time, his hands flew up, pinching the spirit art. As time passed, the power in the bodies of the two people continued to pour into the 9 stars breaking the forbidden shuttle, and the surface of the 9 stars breaking the forbidden shuttle also flickered with stars. Beauty, on the surface of the 9 stars breaking the forbidden shuttle, a star pattern was lit up. After a while, another star pattern was lit up. After a while, the 3rd star pattern is lit. By this time, Both Yang Kai and Mo Xiaoqi had reached their limits, their strength fluctuated and their expressions were extremely difficult. After all, it is the Emperor treasure, and even with the strength of the two of them, it is impossible to activate half of its power. Mo Xiaoqi's expression became serious, the spirit art in his hand changed leisurely, and he yelled softly, "Broken." The next moment, the 9 stars breaking the forbidden shuttle flickered slightly, and suddenly rushed into the 5-color beam of light, and then disappeared. However, the two people staying in the shuttle felt a sense of weightlessness at the same time, and both of them looked happy, but they did not take it lightly, but continued to maintain the power of the 9-star breaking the forbidden shuttle. After a while, the uncomfortable feeling disappeared. The two looked at each other, and Mo Xiaoqi opened the 9-star breaking forbidden shuttle with great anticipation, and rushed out first. Then, her cheers came. "Brother Yang, it seems that we have really come to the 3rd floor." Yang Kai was also very happy. When he came out to look, he found that although this place looks similar to the 2nd floor, there are actually some differences. The power of broken laws flowing around seems to be much denser. "It's not too difficult," Mo Xiaoqi giggled, rather proud. "It's important to recover first, the 3rd floor is much more dangerous than the 2nd floor." Yang Kai reminded, and at the same time released his spiritual sense to check the surrounding situation. After confirming that there was no danger in the surrounding area, he sat down cross-legged, took out a bottle of panacea from the space ring, stuffed it in his mouth and took it to restore the power he had consumed before. The same is true for Mo Xiaoqi, but before she did this, she released her silver-haired liger, flying bat and that monster like a fire unicorn, and let them guard all around, which looked very strange. Be careful. To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn update group at woixiaowati. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2012 The Power of the Broken Law. A day later, Yang Kai and Mo Xiaoqi opened their eyes one after another, their respective gods were shining brightly, obviously they had completely recovered. Mo Xiaoqi recalled his monsters, and asked Yang Kai, "Brother Yang, since we have reached the 3rd floor, we can't miss the benefits here in vain. Should we act together or separately?" Yang Kai pondered for a moment, then asked, "What do you mean?" Mo Xiaoqi giggled. "If you want to be safer, I think it's better to act together. But if you want more benefits, you should act separately. Brother Yang, you don't know that the benefits in the 5-color pagoda are actually not in it. The geniuses and earthly treasures bred here do not lie in those secret treasures left here. The real benefits are the power of the broken laws and the origin of the stars floating in the heaven and earth. I've heard of this before, but I haven't seen it. What's going on?" Yang Kai frowned. Mo Xiaoqi said with a smile, "Of course it is because there are not many of these things on the 1st and 2nd floors, but the 3rd floor is different, and there are only 2 of us here, and there is no one to compete with us. If we can get some broken power of law and the source of stars, it will definitely help us to advance to the Tao origin realm." Yang Kai nodded, smiled and said, "Seeing what you mean, do you want to act separately?" Mo Xiaoqi suddenly stuck out her tongue in embarrassment. After all, if 2 people are together, even if they encounter those benefits, they will be divided into 2. "Brother Yang, I don't want to share with you equally, it's just." "I understand. Since you have confidence in yourself, then act separately." Yang Kai interrupted her with a smile. "Brother Yang, you must be careful, there are monsters in the Tao origin realm on the 3rd floor." "You too." Yang Kai nodded. Yang Kai is actually not worried about Mo Xiaoqi, with her means and the secret treasures on her body, even if she really encounters a Daoyuan realm, that is, an 11th order monster, there will be no serious problems. If she loses you can also protect yourself. And he himself is not too afraid. If it is not feasible, just release the mother body of the monster insect. As long as he does not encounter a large group of 11th order monster beasts, Yang Kai is confident that he will be safe and sound on the 3rd floor, and he can even use this opportunity to condense his own blood beast. The army of blood beasts that was condensed in the hometown star field back then is no longer useful in the star realm, and it is time to update it. After the two discussed properly, they quickly found their own direction and separated. The two run in opposite directions, and believe that even if the 5-color pagoda is open to the time limit, they will not meet again. In this way, there will be enough space for the two to find their own opportunities. A day later, Yang Kai stood on a flat ground, and between opening and closing his hands, one after another moon blade attacked forward. And not far ahead, the snow-white monster worm mother's 2 swords came out together. drawing a purple-green light, and exerted the power of the purple-green double swords, a set of Void King level top-grade secret treasures, to the extreme. Around the mother body of the demon worm, an icy mood pervades, accompanied by the power of icy law, turning the ground within a radius of 100 feet into frozen soil. But the opponent of the demon worm mother body is a Qingyan Jinglei jackal, which is also of the 11th rank. This is a monster beast that looks like a wolf and a jackal. It is small in stature and extremely flexible in its movements. It has mastered the power of fire and thunder by nature, extremely difficult. The mother body of the monster worm can also exert the power of the second level of Daoyuan, but after fighting with it for more than half a day, it still cannot kill it, which shows that Qingyan's ability to startle the thunder jackal is outstanding. Yang Kai didn't dare to intervene in the battle between them rashly, he just stood in the distance, constantly using space secret techniques to interfere with the movements of the Qingyan shocking thunder jackal. As time passed, more and more wounds appeared on the Qingyan Jinglei jackal, and as the icy state of the monster worm's mother body diffused and invaded, its opponent's movements became slower and slower. This is the horror of the ice-cold mood, it can weaken the enemy's perception and speed silently, making the enemy become sluggish without anyone noticing, thus losing their lives. 2 hours later, accompanied by a shrill howl, the purple and green twin swords of the monster worm's mother body finally pierced the enemy's vital point, bringing out a large amount of bright red blood, and Qingyan's dying to counterattack. The mother body of the monster worm must retreat again and again. But it's just a futile struggle. A moment later, Qingyan Jinglei's eyes lost their luster, and he fell to the ground, never moving again. Until then, Yang Kai stepped forward. The monster worm's mother opened its mouth, swallowed the Ziqing twin swords, and immediately crawled to Yang Kai's feet, rubbing him affectionately. It is impossible for ordinary blood beasts to do this, but the mother body of the monster worm has its own chaotic intelligence, so a little spirituality in its behavior can also be explained. Squatting in front of the Qingyan Jinglei jackal, Yang Kai thought for a moment, and decided to condense it into his own blood beast. He forced a golden blood thread from his finger, pierced into Qingyan Jinglei jackal's body, and sat cross-legged on it. In front of him, pinched the spirit art and concocted with the method of condensing blood beasts. Half a day later, the already dead Qingyan Jinglei jackal shook and stood up again, but at this moment, its eyes were dim, without the slightest expression, and the whole beast was emitting a faint light of blood. This is the most notable characteristic of blood beasts. Yang Kai sensed it a little, and confirmed that the strength of this new blood beast did not fall to the level of the Void King realm, but still maintained the Dao origin realm, and he couldn't help being very satisfied. With the protection of the two blood beasts, the demon insect mother and the Qingyan Jinglei jackal, he can go to most of the places on the 3rd floor now, and he doesn't have to worry about any danger anymore. Immediately, Yang Kai took the two blood beasts and continued to explore. 2 days later, Yang Kai sat cross-legged somewhere on the 3rd floor, with a joyful expression on his face, practicing his profound arts silently. At the same time, from the sky, streams of light visible to the naked eye continuously shot towards him, like swallows returning to their nests, disappearing in the blink of an eye. These streamers, visible to the naked eye, contained the power of the broken laws of this ancient battlefield. This is what Mo Shaoqi said, the biggest benefit inside the 5-color pagoda. Yang Kai also happened to pass by here before he discovered something, and immediately stopped hesitating and quickly absorbed it. By absorbing these streamers into his body, he can clearly see into the mysteries of the law, which will lay a good foundation for him to advance to the Daoyuan realm in the future. But soon, he discovered a strange thing. That is, after these streamers entered his body, the power of the broken laws carried by him was too huge, and he had no time to absorb them all, but they did not disappear, instead they all rushed towards the position of the mysterious boundary bead, and then disappeared. The message sent back from the Dharma body let Yang Kai know that the power of these disappearing laws had all poured into mysterious small boundary. Great changes have taken place in mysterious Shaoji. The space within mysterious small world, with the infusion of the power of law, becomes more and more vast, more and more magnificent, and gradually the outline of a real world appears. And within mysterious Shaoji, it seems that some inexplicable changes have taken place because of the infusion of the power of these laws. Yang Kai didn't quite understand what all this was because of. But after careful thought, a possibility came to mind. The mysterious boundary bead is an emperor treasure, a space secret treasure formed by a powerful emperor senior realm expert who refined a huge space. Its internal laws are not perfect, so even if it can live in people, it can accommodate living beings in its practice, but still can't be like the real world. But at this moment, the power of laws pouring in from the five-color pagoda is helping mysterious Shaoji perfect its own laws. Once the laws in the mysterious boundary orb are completed, then the mysterious little boundary will truly become a world. Yang Kai can't verify the correctness of this guess for the time being, but it's very close to him. So he didn't panic too much, but let it go. Anyway, this is the power of law remaining inside the five-color pagoda. No matter how much it absorbs, it will not hinder him. This absorbing took half a day, and when there was no more streamer falling in the sky, Yang Kai couldn't help but opened his eyes with some insatiable desire. After comprehending with his heart, Yang Kai found that his understanding of the power of laws had indeed improved, and he vaguely understood some of the mysteries of Daoyuanjing, but this was far from enough. Moreover, mysterious small world has not been satisfied. It seems that it can absorb more power of laws and become more perfect. Standing up, Yang Kai continued to search. What Yang Kai didn't know was that the cultivation place like his just now should have been enough for a dozen Void King Realm warriors to advance to the Dao Source Realm, but because of the existence of the mysterious boundary orb, most of the laws were absorbed. Not only it shortened his own comprehension time, and at the same time made that piece of practice land become ordinary in the next 100 years, no longer possessing any magic. If Xingshan Palace found out about this matter, they would definitely not let it go with him. To a certain extent, such a place of cultivation is a kind of foundation of the Star God Palace, the foundation of the sect of the bad guys. This is not a small matter. In the next few days, Yang Kai has been looking for a location similar to the one before, but unfortunately this kind of place seems to be really rare, and he has never found it. And in the past few days, he also encountered some monster beast attacks, but with the guardian of the two blood beasts, the monster worm mother and the Qingyan Jinglei jackal, these monsters naturally have nothing to do with Yang Kai. Either he died tragically under the siege of the two big blood beasts, or he saw the opportunity and escaped. Yang Kai didn't condense new blood beasts anymore, but dealt with the corpses of the dead monsters, took out the inner alchemy and all valuable parts, and prepared to use or sell them in the future. What he did in the previous hometown Starfield made him understand that blood beasts don't need too many, and if there are too many, it will consume a lot of power of consciousness, and condensing blood beasts will not only consume their own golden blood threads but also give up the monster. The material of the animal body is really not worth it. After several days of searching to no avail, Yang Kai was in a bad mood. He doesn't know when the five-color pagoda will be closed, but this time the five-color pagoda will be open for a long time, and it shouldn't last long. Now the rare opportunity can't happen again, so he can't wait to find more streamer. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. Chapter 2013 Stealing the Benefits of Others. Chapter 2013 Stealing the Benefits of Others. On this day, Yang Kai was flying close to the ground when he suddenly paused and looked up at the distant sky. In that extremely far position, streaks of light streaked across the sky and fell to the ground below, like a meteor shower. Those streamers were obviously the power of the broken law that he had been looking for several days, but the number of streamers was much larger than the one he encountered for the first time, and the number was also countless times larger. He was overjoyed, no longer hesitated, and suddenly accelerated towards that side. 3 hours later, Yang Kai came to a valley. What he saw immediately stunned him in place. In the center of the valley, there is a large group of bright beings emitting dazzling light, and at the same time, streamers of light continue to fall from the sky, converging into this group of light, increasing its brightness. This ray of light is the aggregate of those streamers in the sky. So many. Yang Kai was mentally prepared, and was shocked by the scene in front of him. The total amount of light absorbed by him in the mysterious boundary orb before is probably less than 1% of what is here. Those alone will benefit Yang Kai endlessly, and it will also make a huge change in the mysterious boundary orb. If Lu Guang completely absorbs it, his comprehension of the power of the law will definitely be able to be promoted to the level of Daoyuan, and it may not be difficult to promote in the future. Even the mysterious small boundary within the mysterious boundary pearl can undergo fundamental changes. With a happy expression on his face, Yang Kai rushed out and stopped at a position about 30 feet away from the ray of light. It's not that he doesn't want to get close, but that the power of law contained in this ray of light is too huge, and he can't get close at all. If you go deep into it rashly, you may be crushed to pieces by the chaotic laws. The light cluster in front of it even made a buzzing sound because it was too large, and seemed very unstable. Yang Kai took a deep breath, released the monster worm mother and Qingyan Jinglei jackal, and let them guard nearby, while he sat down cross-legged and performed his exercises. All of a sudden, as if receiving an invisible traction, one after another mysterious light shot out from the huge light group, rushing towards the place where Yang Kai was. These profound lights did not kill at all, they poured into Yang Kai's body and disappeared. And at the moment when the mysterious light poured in, Yang Kai felt that he could gain insight into the mystery of the law. At the moment, he no longer hesitated, immersed himself in it, and realized it with his heart. He is in the Void King realm, and he can't absorb that much mysterious light at all. Same as last time, when his physical ability exceeds the limit, those mysterious lights will pour into the mysterious realm orb one after another, and become part of the world in the mysterious small boundary, perfecting the laws of mysterious Shaoji. Time passed slowly. Yang Kai's expression began to change, sometimes frowning, sometimes relaxed, sometimes blank, sometimes suddenly enlightened. And from that group of light, more and more mysterious light was emitted, and it became denser and denser. But Yang Kai's whole body is like a bottomless pit, no matter how much profound light comes, he can absorb it without fail. Time flies, it is 3 or 4 days of work. After Yang Kai's bottomless absorption, the huge light group has shrunk several times at this moment, and the light emitted is not as strong as before, but there are still mysterious lights from it, pouring into Yang Kai's body. The body disappears. At a certain moment, Yang Kai suddenly opened his eyes, with a thoughtful look on his face. After pondering for a moment, he suddenly stretched out his hand and swiped across the space in front of him. An inexplicable force flowed from his fingertips, and a pitch-black crack in space suddenly appeared where his fingers passed. Yang Kai didn't use his own space power at the moment, but he was still able to achieve this level, all thanks to the power of the law of heaven and earth. Gao Source Realm warriors, with a preliminary understanding of the law, can mobilize the power of the law for their own use and strengthen their ultimate moves. Yang Kai has already touched the edge of the law at this moment, all this is due to the bottomless perception and absorption in the past few days. However, the power of the law that he understands is still shallow, so when his fingers slid across, the tiny space crack immediately returned to its original state, and it couldn't last for too long. With a movement of his mind, he looked inside at the void crystal in his body. I saw the void thought crystal, which was originally as black as a black hole, now had a faint glow flowing from its surface. Yang Kai's void mind crystal condenses all his perceptions and experiences of space power, which can increase his display of space power, and at this moment, after understanding the power of law, void mind crystal has attached a law. The power has become more unpredictable. From now on, as long as Yang Kai is willing, he can slightly mobilize the power of the law of heaven and earth. Moreover, it is still a weird and inexplicable space law. This kind of increase is a qualitative change, a fundamental change. Although he can't use it too many times with his current strength, once he is promoted to Daoyuan, the situation will be completely different. He closed his eyes in satisfaction, once again absorbing the mysterious light in front of him together with mysterious Shaoji. Another 2 days later, the ray of light has shrunk by more than 10 times, and the radiance has also become a bit dim, as if after such absorption there is very little left. Yang Kai was unaware of this, only immersed in his own perception. Suddenly, a slight groan came from the front. Although the voice is soft, it is extremely real. Yang Kai originally thought it was his own illusion, but when the second groan came, his face changed and he opened his eyes quickly. At the same time, affected by the change in his mood, the demon worm mother and Qingyan Jinglei jackal who had been guarding nearby also hurried back to guard him. But Yang Kai's eyes widened at this moment, staring at the front stupidly, with an unbelievable expression on his face, and it took a long time before he whispered, "There is someone." It wasn't until this moment that he realized that there was a figure in the light group in front of him. The light group was too bright and the power of law was too strong before, and he didn't notice the abnormality inside at all. It wasn't until the light group weakened to a certain extent that the figure inside was revealed. Was this person already inside, or did he run in later? And who is this person? Yang Kai was completely at a loss. However, judging from that graceful figure, the existence in the light group is obviously a woman. Yang Kai immediately thought of Mo Xiaoqi. After all, in this third floor, only he and Mo Xiaoqi are alive now. But when I think about it carefully, I am wrong. I am clearly going against Mo Xiaoqi. How could she hide in this light group in advance? Moreover, the curve of that figure is also somewhat different from Mo Shaoqi. Could it be the old monster that was sealed here? Yang Kai thought of the wooden mandrel he encountered on the second floor before, and couldn't help guessing in his heart, and suddenly broke into a cold sweat. But at this moment, he suddenly noticed that the woman opposite him opened his eyelids slightly, and a pair of bright eyes looked at him through the light ball. Yang Kai frowned, stood up quickly, and stared ahead vigilantly. But what he didn't expect was that the other party just glanced at him, and then closed his beautiful eyes again, as if he didn't exist. But soon, Yang Kai understood why she was like this. Just after the woman closed her eyes, the aura surged in the sky. Near the woman, pieces of good source crystals burst and turned into pure and rich aura of heaven and earth, gathering together. Immediately afterwards, thunder rolled in the sky, and a large dark cloud suddenly appeared, among which there were even signs of lightning. The aura of heaven and earth formed by the bursting source crystals frantically gathered in the sky, and in the blink of an eye, an extremely terrifying vision was formed. Breakthrough. Yang Kai couldn't help taking a few steps back, his expression changing. This woman is obviously going to break through a big realm here, and the vision in front of her is obviously the baptism of heaven and earth that needs to be greeted when she breaks through the big realm. At this time, Yang Kai also noticed that the woman's true cultivation was the same as his own, both at the peak of the Void King's third order realm, and if he made a breakthrough, it would be Daoyuan realm. This woman should not be an old monster who has been sealed here for countless years, but a warrior who came in from Fenggalan City just like himself. Yang Kai made a judgment in his heart. However, I don't know what method she used, but she was able to enter the third floor. This thought surged up, making Yang Kai's heart tremble. No matter who this woman is, since she can go deep into the third floor, she is obviously extraordinary, and she came to the third floor on purpose, probably to break through her own realm. As for the huge ball of light before, she probably gathered it here. In other words, she seems to have robbed others of their benefits. In an instant, Yang Kai fell into a cold sweat. A place of right and wrong, it is not advisable to stay longer. In case she finds herself in trouble after she is promoted. Although Yang Kai is not too afraid of a newly promoted Dao origin realm, but this is always a troublesome thing, so after he reacts, he immediately needs to smear the soles of his feet. And at this moment, the woman over there seemed to have understood Yang Kai's intentions, and suddenly said, "Stand there obediently and don't move, or I will make you look good." The sound is crisp and sweet, very pleasant to listen to. Since Yang Kai made up his mind to leave, why would he care about her? Immediately, with a big move, the two blood beasts were put away, and they were about to fly away in the air. The woman snorted coldly, raised Qianshen's jade hand, and a large piece of starlight emerged from the jade hand, and those starlight gathered into the shape of an arrow in a very short period of time, and with a wave of her, she shot straight at Yang Kai. The sound of piercing the air sounded, and before the attack arrived, Yang Kai felt a chill behind him. Horrified, he turned around and threw two punches. In an instant, the wind was surging, and the condensed fist wind collided with the star arrow, making a violent sound, and the air waves swept around. Yang Kai used the strength of the recoil to float far away in an instant. From the beginning to the end, he didn't even say a word. It's really fast. In the light group, the woman gritted her teeth, frowned, and said in a daze, "It's strange, how could there be someone on the third floor, and this guy doesn't seem to be an ordinary Void King realm." To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. Chapter 2014 Return. The woman herself is not an ordinary Void King realm, and now she is on the verge of breaking through. The blow she sends out is naturally powerful, and it is not something that ordinary Void King realm can resist. Yang Kai took her one move without incident, and even retreated faster with the help of momentum, allowing the woman to have a rough guess about his strength. There are such martial artists in the small Fenggalan city. The woman's eyebrows were frowned, her expression was quite surprised. But soon, she didn't have time to think, because the baptism of heaven and earth breaking through a big realm was coming, she could only hold her breath and focus on it. Not long after, in the sky, huge energy bombarded down like thunder, falling towards the place where the woman was. Yang Kai has been running away for about 100 miles before slowly stopping. He didn't know who the woman he met on the third floor was, and what method he used to enter this place, but since he has robbed her of many benefits, it is of course better to withdraw first. At the moment when the opponent is breaking through, it is obviously impossible to chase, so Yang Kai is not too worried. In the distance behind, there was a muffled thunder-like sound. Looking back, it seemed that he could still see the vision of heaven and earth over there. Yang Kai immediately knew that the other party was already undergoing the baptism of the energy of heaven and earth. Once successful, he could be promoted for the Daoyuan environment. And judging from the woman's previous state, it was obvious that she had prepared for this moment for a long time, and she was afraid that the chance of success was not small. With this in mind, Yang Kai took another step and walked in the opposite direction from the woman. In the next few days, Yang Kai gained little, and even encountered some dangers. He was chased and killed by a monster at the peak of the 11th step for a long time. It's not that Yang Kai's current strength can be low level, if he is not guarded by the monster worm mother and Qingyan Jinglei Jackal, and he has an insight into the magic of space law, I am afraid that he will really be in trouble. After finally getting rid of the ferocious beast's pursuit, Yang Kai had just recovered for half a day when he suddenly felt the surrounding space tighten, and there was a faint force of heaven and earth squeezed from all around, making him completely unable to move. His complexion changed drastically, and before he could use his kung fu to resist, an extremely mysterious magic circle suddenly appeared under his feet. The magic circle spun around, and there was a suction force, which firmly nailed Yang Kai to the ground for a moment, and completely swallowed him. The familiar weightlessness came, and Yang Kai relaxed. Because he knew that this should be the reason why the 5-color pagoda was closed, and all the warriors who were still alive in the pagoda were sent out, so he relaxed his resistance and let the power of the magic circle pull him. Sure enough, when Yang Kai regained his vision, he had already returned to the Guangxi field of the city lord's mansion. The densely packed crowd all around, shoulder to shoulder, all had pained expressions on their faces, obviously they hadn't recovered from the teleportation. In order not to be too independent, Yang Kai also pretended to be uncomfortable and slowly woke up. Immediately there was a noisy sound from all around, and the warriors of Fenggalan City entered the 5-color pagoda this time. Naturally, some people got great opportunities, some returned empty-handed, and some even fell into it. Now that everything is over, the scene is of course joy and sorrow for several families. However, there were tens of thousands of fighters in Fenggalan City when they entered the 5-color pagoda, but now only half of them came back alive, and the rest were all buried inside the pagoda. It can be seen that although there are many opportunities in the 5-color pagoda, it is actually extremely dangerous. Those Emperor Senior realms seemed to have been sitting on the high platform without moving. Xiao Yuyong's gaze in the center was like lightning. He just swept across the crowd, and then fixed on a blue gauze masked woman with a graceful figure. The woman's star-like eyes also happened to look at Xiao Yuyong, and the two looked at each other. The woman nodded slightly and Xiao Yuyong immediately let out a hearty laugh, looking very happy. Master Xiao seems to be in a good mood. Chen Wenhao, who was sitting on Xiao Yuyong's right hand, glanced at him suspiciously. Xiao Yuyong smiled and said, So, Brother Chen, do you have any opinions? Don't dare not dare. Chen Wenhao twitched his face and quickly showed weakness. Although he is a strong man in the Tianwu Holy Land and has a powerful cultivation base of the first level of Emperor Zun, Xiao Yuyong is the Silver Star Envoy of the Star God Palace. He must be one level higher than him. How could Chen Wenhao dare to be presumptuous in front of Xiao Yuyong? However, it's surprising that so many warriors in this small Fenggalan city can come out of the 5-color pagoda alive. Feng Ming of Wuhua Palace glanced back and forth among the crowd, as if looking for a good one. Like Miao Zi, he said, City Master Duan is blessed, and Fenggalan City is also full of talents. Although this time the loss is not small, but these survivors alone will surely be able to support another wider piece of Fenggalan City in the future. Sky. Master Feng, I'm overwhelmed by the blessings of several adults. Duan Yuenshan, the lord of Fenggalan City, smiled from ear to ear, and his tone was extremely humble. As Feng Ming said, this time the 5-color pagoda was opened in Fenggalan City. Although it caused huge losses to the warriors in Fenggalan City, it was definitely valuable. Among the people who came back alive from the 5-color pagoda, as long as 1 in 1,000 can go further in the future, it will be enough to improve the strength of Fenggalan City by several levels. He was still in the crowd, and saw his son Duan Tianxi, with a radiant look. Obviously he had gained a lot, so how could he be unhappy? At this moment, Duan Yuenshan frowned suddenly, took out a communication compass from his arms, poured his spiritual thoughts into it, and immediately his expression changed drastically. He suddenly raised his head and looked at Duan Tianxi in the crowd, only to see the latter nodded to him. And at this moment, several other pieces of information came out from the communication compass, and they all said the same thing, and these pieces of information all came from the heads of the major families in Fenggalan City. Master Duan, what happened? His face is so ugly. Feng Ming looked at Duan Yuanshan strangely and asked. My lords, things are going wrong. Hearing this, Duan Yuanshan hurriedly stepped forward and bowed. Feng Ming smiled. City Master Duan, don't make alarmist remarks. With a few of us sitting here, what's the big deal? It's no wonder he has this confidence. After all, there are 5 Emperor Senior Realm here, and one of them is a second-tier Emperor Senior Realm. As long as one of the top 10 Emperor Senior Realm does not come to slaughter the city, they can all handle it. Duan Yuanshan wiped the cold sweat off his forehead, and said, it's like this, the warriors of my Fenggalan city broke a seal on the 2nd floor of the pagoda, and released an ancient wooden mandrel from the seal. What? Feng Ming's expression changed when he heard the words, and he stood up abruptly, is this really true? It's absolutely true. Duan also just received reports from the masters, so he came to report without any delay. Wooden mandrel, is there a wooden mandrel in the 2nd place of the pagoda? A young woman who had not spoken all this time frowned and asked in surprise. This young lady is Gao Shueding from Qingyang Temple, and she also has a powerful cultivation at the 1st level of Emperor Senior, so she can sit on an equal footing with Feng Ming and others. The wooden mandrel is not easy to deal with, and it is actually an ancient wooden mandrel. Mr. Xiao, why didn't you tell me about this earlier? Chen Wenhao glanced at Xiao Yuyang with some complaints. Xiao Yuyang rolled his eyes and said, the 5-color pagoda is not as simple as you think. The things inside it, even the emperor himself, cannot be found out clearly. Many seals and restrictions are extremely hidden. It will definitely be discovered. This released wooden mandrel is very likely to be sealed in a hidden place. Once he explained it like this, it was difficult for others to say anything else. A few adults, please take action and cut off the wooden mandrel, otherwise it will become a great disaster for our Fenggalan city. Duan Yuanshan looked at the 6 emperors with a pleading face and said. It's just a wooden mandrel. What is City Lord Duan afraid of doing? Besides, it has been sealed for countless years, and its strength must have dropped drastically. City Lord Duan can kill it by himself without us doing anything. Feng Ming looked indifferent. Look. Duan Yuanshan said with a bitter face. Lord Feng doesn't know something. According to the news I have received, it is said that this wooden mandrel can devour the essence of a warrior's flesh and blood, quickly restore strength, and can also spread wood seeds, lurking in a warrior's body. When the time is right, I will break out of the shell, occupy the physical body of a warrior, and become thousands of incarnations. Among the warriors in Fenggalan City, I am afraid that some people have already been recruited. Is there such a thing? At this moment, the 6 emperors could not help but change their colors slightly. It's absolutely true. Guzi informed this news, and he almost encountered the poisonous hands of a companion who was hidden in the body by a wood species. Duan Yuanshan replied quickly. If this is the case, then the situation is a bit serious. Xiao Yuyang looked serious, pondered for a moment and said, okay, since the wooden mandrel came out of the 5-color pagoda of my Star God Palace, then Xiao can't just sit idly by. How about this, City Lord Duan, go and open the restriction of Fenggalan City first. Close the city gate, allow entry and no exit, and in addition, let none of the warriors who are still here leave. Let's close the gate and beat the dog. Yes, thank you for your help. Duan Yuanshan was overjoyed when he saw this, turned around quickly, raised his voice, and shouted loudly, everyone, I have received the order of the Star Envoy, please stay here for a while, the adults have something to deal with, wait after the matter is dealt with, I will let you go away, and I ask for your cooperation. As soon as this remark came out, the noisy guangzong below fell silent in an instant, and everyone looked towards Duan Yuanshan in astonishment. Yang Kai, who was using Yinju to contact Mo Shaoqi, couldn't help raising his head. His brows were slightly wrinkled. He didn't know what Duan Yuanshan and those Emperor Senior stages were going to do. However, the reputation of the Emperor-level powerhouse is too great, so even though the warriors who stayed in Guangxi Field felt a little dissatisfied, they didn't dare to show it, but stood obediently. The 6 emperors on the high platform got together, and after a brief discussion, 4 of them suddenly flickered and disappeared in place, leaving only Xiao Yuyang and the young woman Gao Shueding still in place. But at this moment, the entire Maple Forest city suddenly buzzed, and a layer of bright energy shield immediately appeared in the sky, covering the entire Maple Forest city like a big bowl. To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn update group at woixiaowati. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Recommend a good book here. Chapter 2015 The Scourge of the Wooden Mandrel. This change of scene made many warriors who stayed in the square look ugly, but they were frightened by the strength of the Emperor's senior realm powerhouses and dared not show any disrespect. At the moment, everyone guessed what all this was for. At this moment, Xiao Yuyang and Gao Shueting, who were sitting on the high platform, looked at each other and stood up together. In the next moment, two huge and incomparably divine thoughts swept across the four directions like substance, covering the huge square. Almost everyone was stiff at this moment. After all, being glanced at by two emperor-level powerhouses with divine sense, no one would be too comfortable. In front of that powerful divine sense, the secrets in their bodies seem to be there is nothing to hide, and it looks like it will be exposed soon. But soon, these two divine thoughts were withdrawn, making everyone feel relieved. It seems that many people have indeed been recruited. Xiao Yuyang suddenly smiled slightly, stretched out his hand a little forward, and a stream of light suddenly shot out from the fingertip. Lu Guang's speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he came to a male warrior in blue clothes, and shot straight at his abdomen. The blue-clothed warrior has the cultivation base of the second level of the Void King, and seeing the Emperor's senior realm attacking him, he couldn't help but change his face in shock, and shouted, "Master Star Envoy." He couldn't figure it out. How could he have the qualifications to provoke the Silver Star Envoy of the Star God Palace to personally attack him in a small Void King realm? Before he finished speaking, the streamer hit his lower abdomen, and the man in blue couldn't help groaning. As if hit by a huge force, he flew upside down and fell into the crowd. At the same time, from his back, that stream of light shot out sharply, but at this moment, it seemed that there was something wrapped in the stream of light. When everyone looked carefully, they suddenly found that the thing was an oval cyan seed. With a soft cracking sound, the streamer exploded, and the seed also disappeared in the explosion, turning into dust. There was a vaguely sharp scream coming from inside the seed. Seeing this scene, everyone couldn't help but change their faces. Everyone knew that there should be something abnormal in the man in blue, and the reason why Xiao Yuyang attacked him was to get rid of this abnormality. Turning his head to look again, the blue-clothed man whose body was pierced by the mysterious light was pale at the moment, as if his vitality had been seriously injured, but he stood up staggeringly without any fear of his life. Xiao Yuyang didn't look at him, but there was a cynical smile on the corner of his mouth, and he flicked his fingers. Streams of light shot in all directions like just now, hitting different warriors in the crowd. At the same time as Xiao Yuyang's actions, Gao Shueting also acted. The young woman looked solemn with one hand, and performed a decision with one hand in the air, which turned into rune patterns, and then split into small nets, and flew in all directions. Those small nets seemed to have their own spirituality, and quickly found their targets, and directly netted the bodies of the warriors. Those martial artists who were covered by the small nets all grunted, but the small nets pierced out from behind these warriors as if passing through an invisible object, but at this moment, there was an extra one among these small nets. A cyan seed. The young woman made another pinch, and the small nets burst open one after another, and the seeds caught in the nets also burst to pieces. "What is this?" A martial artist yelled in horror and retreated again and again. Although the two powerful emperors had no intention of killing anyone when they attacked, many people were still terrified after seeing such strange seeds in the bodies of nearby warriors. And at this moment, in the plaza, there were screams of misery coming from all directions. Immediately afterwards, violent power surged. Among the crowd, there suddenly appeared strange shapes like trees. These things looked no different from trees at first glance, but they exuded a very evil aura. In the center of the trunk, there were still people face. Yang Kai was also taken aback at the moment. He saw with his own eyes that a martial artist beside him had undergone tremendous changes in a very short period of time. This martial artist was talking and laughing with his counterpart, discussing the opportunity to enter the five-color pagoda this time, with an excited look on his face, but just now, he suddenly became extremely painful. At the same time, a cyan light glowed from his abdomen, his skin was cracked, and blood flowed out, and something else seemed to come out of his flesh and blood. In the blink of an eye, the martial artist turned into a tree-like existence before his eyes, and the warrior's face was embedded in the center of the tree trunk, struggling and howling with a ferocious expression, and soon disappeared movement. Chi 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 chi. Blue vines shot out from the inside of the tree, frantically whipping and stabbing in all directions. Several warriors nearby didn't notice for a while. One of them was pierced by the vine, and there was a sound of gurgling from the vine, as if he was devouring something, and the warrior who was pierced through the body was actually pierced in a very short time. The inner flesh shriveled. Wood mandrill, Yang Kai exclaimed in surprise. How familiar is this scene in front of you? It was the scene where he met the wooden mandrill on the second floor of the five-color pagoda. But he never thought that he would see him again in the square of Fenglan City. At the same time as he shouted these words, Yang Kai retreated quickly, and at the same time urged the fire sword energy of the inextinguishable five-element sword, and chopped down the vines that were stabbing at him. With a sound of hitting the ground, the burning sword of fire hacked off the thorns of the vines, and Yang Kai used this strength to float away and retreat. But at this time, many warriors had already recognized the culprit of this mutation, and in an instant, the name of the wooden mandrill was spread in the square. Give this seat the power to resist. Don't let the wood species invade your body, otherwise your fate will be the same. Xiao Yuyong's angry shout suddenly came from the high platform. When Yang Kai heard this, he immediately became agitated, and quickly circulated his power to cover his whole body, so as not to accidentally get hit. Other warriors who reacted to the second corpse were also like Yang Kai. Some warriors who reacted slowly were lucky enough to escape, while others were unlucky. Became the clone of Mudrill. On the high platform, Xiao Yuyong snorted coldly, his body surged violently, and with a single finger, he killed several wooden mandrill clones in the air. That Gao Shueting was also extremely powerful. Seeing that the situation was a bit out of control, she naturally showed no mercy in her attacks, and killed those Mudrill clones extremely neatly. At the same time, the other four emperors were doing the same thing across Fenglan City. 6th, when many warriors returned to the square from the five-color pagoda, many people left immediately, and among these people, there were naturally warriors whose bodies had been eroded by wood drill species. The prototypes were revealed one after another. For a moment, the 6 great emperors were chopping melons and vegetables, killing those wooden mandrill clones. After the warriors in Fenglan City realized the difficulty of the wooden mandrill, they also exerted their strength to protect themselves. For a while, the entire Fenglan City fell into chaos, but the overall situation is still very clear. These wood mandrill clones are not powerful, but their methods are too weird. The wood mandrill species emitted can it invaded the warrior's body silently. But if warriors are prepared, the chance of being invaded will be greatly reduced. With the joint efforts of many warriors, the crisis of the wooden mandrill seemed to be resolved quickly. Half a day later, in Fenglan City, the corpses of Mudrill clones were lying everywhere. These corpses originally belonged to the warriors of Fenglan City, but after being eroded by wood species, they all transformed into another existence. In order to avoid being unable to cut the weeds and eradicate the roots, the 6 emperors deliberately split up and patrolled the entire Fenglan City. During this inspection, they found some hidden wood species. This situation lasted for 2 full days before the chaos in Fenglan City gradually subsided. In the past 2 days, thousands of warriors in Fenglan City died because of this. It can be seen that the wood mandrill is terrifying. It doesn't even need to take action by itself, it only needs to spread wood seeds to achieve this level. If it really grows up, I'm afraid that the whole Fenglan City will be devastated. Yang Kai finally realized the horror of this guy, and felt that Mo Shaoqi's statement that a strong emperor senior realm fell into the hands of a wooden mandrill was probably not groundless. In the past 2 days, he has also been actively cooperating with other warriors to kill and find the clone of the wooden mandrill. After all the warriors in Fenglan City have done this. During this process, both Mo Shaoqi and Kong Saran asked about his safety many times, and after getting the news that he was all right, they felt at ease. After everything was settled, Yang Kai went to Spirit Pill Workshop to meet with Kong Saran, agreed on the next time to come to alchemy, and then Shiren went to the cave he rented. He needs to sort out his income from entering the 5-color pagoda this time. At the same time, in the city lord's mansion, the 6 powerful emperors gathered together, and Duan Yuanshan was still standing at the bottom. The expressions of several emperor senior realm powerhouses are not as relaxed and freehand as before, but are a little dignified. My lords, has the wooden mandrill really been completely wiped out? Duan Yuenshin hesitated for a long time before asking cautiously. He had killed 2 of his cronies with his own hands before, and he also fully realized that the wooden mandrel was indestructible, so his heart was very heavy. If I say it is completely wiped out, you will definitely not believe it. Xiao Yuyang looked up at him. What does your lord mean? Duan Yuenshin's face changed slightly. Xiao Yuyang sighed and said, there are many types of wooden mandrels, each with different talents and abilities. This wooden mandrel is indeed beyond my expectation, and I can't guarantee whether it really no longer exists in the world. Perhaps, there are some hidden wood species that we haven't noticed. Duan Yuenshin looked horrified, and said, with the means of several adults, you can't be sure. Gao Shueding said, I can't be sure, unless you call all the warriors in Fenggalan City and let me check with spiritual sense, so that we can be sure. How dare you bother the 6 adults to mobilize the crowd like this? Duan Yuenshin was taken aback, and quickly apologized. To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn Update group at Cha Shang Meng Wei. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to the first release to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2016 Quota. How many warriors are there in the entire Fenggalan City? There are tens of thousands of Void King Realm and Void Returning Mirrors entering the 5-color pagoda this time alone, not to mention the people underneath. Although there is no exact statistics, the number of warriors in Fenggalan City is 4 to 5 million, if not a million. With so many warriors, if the 6 emperors were to be inspected one by one, not to mention whether they have the thought and energy, even if they do, the duration will definitely not be short. In such a long period of time, there may be some other changes. So this approach is completely unrealizable. Although we can't confirm whether the wood mandrel is dead or not, don't worry, it has lost so many wood species. Even if it is not dead, it is probably already seriously injured. It is afraid that it will come out to make trouble in a short time. Impossible, you just need to instruct the warriors in the city to check their own conditions more often to prevent problems before they happen. Gao Shueding said lightly. Follow Lord Gao's order. At this point, Duan Yuenshin also knew that there was no good solution other than this method, so he could only nod his head in agreement. Okay, you go out, I still have some things to discuss. Xiao Yuyang waved his hand suddenly and ordered. Duan Yuenshin once again apologized, and quickly retreated, not daring to be disrespectful. Although this is his city lord's mansion, the emperors in front of him are all very powerful, and he can't provoke them at all. It is extremely rare to meet one of them on weekdays. This time, 6 of them gathered together. How could he dare to disobey? After Duan Yuenshin left, Xiao Yuyang suddenly waved his hand, and an invisible force surged out, covering the room where the 6 people were. Zhang Yuan, the vice president of Qiao Chamber of Commerce, narrowed his eyes, and said in surprise, what else is there for Mr. Xiao, that you need to be so cautious? Could it be because of the wooden mandrel? Lu Kai, the vice president of Ziwan Chamber of Commerce, also asked in surprise. Xiao Yuyang smiled slightly, of course not. How can I attach so much importance to a mere wooden mandrel? What I want to discuss with you next is the matter of Broken Star Sea. Sea of Broken Stars. As soon as this remark came out, the other 5 emperors could not help but change their colors slightly. Feng Ming of Wuhua Palace thoughtfully said, Master Xiao means, the entrance to Sea of Broken Stars is about to open. The others also looked at Xiao Yuyang excitedly, as if they were extremely concerned about the Sea of Broken Stars. A few days ago, I received a message from the Great Emperor that the entrance to the Sea of Broken Stars is indeed about to open, but the specific time, the Great Emperor has not yet been able to figure out. I only know that it should be soon. Xiao Yuyang looked solemn, looked south, and slightly clasped his fists. Everyone naturally knew who the emperor he was talking about was. In the entire southern region, only one of the top 10 emperors can use the title of emperor, the helm of the Star God Palace, Emperor Mingyu. Since it's what the emperor said, it shouldn't be wrong. Gao Shueding nodded slightly and said, Master Xiao, do my sects know about this? Xiao Yuyang smiled and said, don't worry, senior sister Gao, the emperor has sent a message to your sect to inform you of this matter. In addition, the emperor has sent a message. Since we are destined to gather here, we can simply discuss this matter. So that's it. Chen Wenhao nodded and said, although we are all in the southern region, it is not easy to get together on weekdays, let alone the gathering of the 6 major forces. It is really good to take this opportunity to discuss. That's exactly what the emperor meant, and it will save us another appointment. Xiao Yuyang smiled and said, "You all know that the birth of the Sea of Broken Stars has a lot to do with the great Emperor of the Sky Devourer. At that time, how insolent and comfortable is the great Devourer of Heaven to rule the world. Devouring everything in the world and turning it into a powerful capital, even the sun, moon and stars could not escape from his hands, and in the end he still provoked the wrath of the heavens and the people, and was not tolerated by the heavens and the earth." Cough. Feng Ming coughed lightly, and said in an embarrassing way, "Master Xiao, we don't have to take these false news known to the world." Xiao Yuyang chuckled. "This is natural. The warriors at the bottom know that the reason for the fall of the Heaven Devourer Emperor is that the heavens and the earth cannot tolerate it. In fact, everyone knows what is going on. But in that battle, the universe collapsed, and the heavens and the earth it changed color, and the Sea of Broken Stars was born from this, forming a world of its own. It is a pity that although the Sea of Broken Stars is vast and huge, the limit it can accommodate is the Tao Source realm. I will not be blessed to enter it. The Sea of Broken Stars collapsed. You know, there are many broken stars in it, and there are many original sources of stars. If we can absorb one or two, it will be of great benefit to us." As soon as this remark came out, the other 5 emperors were greatly moved. But soon, everyone sighed again. Gao Shueding said, "Because of this, every time the Sea of Broken Stars has been opened, the Emperor Senior Realm is not allowed to enter it at all. If it weren't for this, we would have a good place to go. Junior Sister Gao, if you are interested, you can go in and try your luck." Feng Ming chuckled. Gao Shueding snorted coldly. "The Emperor clearly ordered me to be there. I don't want to be shot and killed by the Emperor. If Senior Brother Feng doesn't take his own life seriously, you can give it a try." Feng Ming hit a snag, his face turned pale, and he didn't say any more. "Although we cannot enter, our disciples can bring back the origin of the stars, so why worry about it? If any of you want to sell it, I, the 7 Luminaries Chamber of Commerce, will buy it all, no matter the price." Zhang Yuan smiled slightly. "I also want to say this. My Ziwan Chamber of Commerce is considered a big business, and I can afford to buy some stars." Lu Kai quickly continued. The vice presidents of the 2 chambers of commerce looked at each other. Although they were both smiling, there were faint sparks. "The 2 of you are really wishful thinking." Xiao Yuyang chuckled. "Forget it, let's not talk about this. The exact opening time of the Broken Star Sea has not yet been determined. Don't you think it is too early to discuss these things? But the opening of the Broken Star Sea has always been my southern territory. Once the news spreads, even people from the other 3 domains will come, but this quota is limited every time. What we need to discuss now is the quota, to see which sect can send how many people to enter." Quote. In the cave, all the restrictions were opened, the mysterious boundary bead was left on the ground, and Yang Kai had already entered the small mysterious boundary. He transplanted several spiritual grasses and wonderful medicines he got from the 5-color pagoda this time into his medicine garden one by one. He could only recognize a small half of these spiritual herbs, and he didn't recognize most of them, and he didn't know what effect they had. Among them, several Ganoderma lucidum, constantly changing colors, were his first harvest in the 5-color pagoda, and they were collected from the bottom of the mud. Judging from the aura it exudes, this is obviously a source-level medicinal material, which should be of great value. Although they haven't been treated for so many days, these Ganoderma lucidum plants are still full of vitality, and they adapted to them instantly after being transplanted into the medicine garden. After all, the current medicine garden in mysterious Shaoji not only has 5 earth vein beads that condense the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, but also has a huge amount of heavy soil. Planting these spiritual herbs and wonderful medicines here is more appropriate than planting them in any medicine garden of any power. I believe that with time, these spiritual herbs will grow vigorously. The 5 golden crystal grass, Yang Kai knows what they do, but if he wants to refine the golden crystal pill, he needs to purchase other medicinal materials, so he is not in a hurry. Yang Kai transplanted one of them into the medicine garden. In addition to these harvests, it is the body materials of various monsters. Yang Kai sorted it out a bit, and prepared to sell it in a few days. Anyway, he doesn't need to refine any secret treasures now. The body materials of these monsters are useless in his hands. It's better to exchange them for source crystals. There is also a Daoyuan fruit. Yang Kai took it out and looked at it for a while, then put it away again. He is not too eager for the Daoyuan fruit, but now that he has obtained it, it is naturally the icing on the cake. I believe that as long as he refines it into the Daoyuan pill, it can help him advance to the Daoyuan realm faster. Of course, the premise is that all the power in his body must be transformed into source power. Next, Yang Kai took out another jade bottle and stared at it solemnly. To say that the most important thing he gained from entering the five-color pagoda this time, besides absorbing a large number of broken laws of heaven and earth in the third floor, not only gave himself a preliminary insight into the power of laws, but also made up for the laws of Shaoxuanji. In addition to the power, there is only this jade bottle. This jade bottle was impressively obtained by him from the Dragon Rising altar on the first floor. The dozen or so treasures on the Rising Dragon altar are basically all fake and formed by illusion, but only the things in this jade bottle are real. At that time, he also activated the world-exterminating demon eye, and he was able to confirm it only after breaking through the illusion. When Duan Tianxi and Zhang Zigen were inspecting more than a dozen items on the Rising Dragon altar, Yang Kai had already quietly taken out another jade bottle and replaced it. At that time, everyone was immersed in the disappointment and anger of being fooled, and almost no one noticed Yang Kai's small movements. Only Qin Yu from the Qin family seemed to have discovered something. Later, I asked Yang Kai about it, and Yang Kai almost thought that she had discovered it, but after thinking about it carefully, she should just be suspicious, not sure. Yang Kai didn't know what was in the jade bottle. During those days in the five-color pagoda, he never took it out to investigate. But he vaguely guessed that the things in the jade bottle should be related to the real dragon, because no matter at that time or at this moment, the real dragon scale on his chest was slightly hot, and it seemed to be formed with the things in the jade bottle. There was a strange resonance. Taking a deep breath, Yang Kai placed the jade bottle in front of his eyes, and then slowly opened the bottle cap. At this moment, a sudden change occurred. A high-pitched dragon chant sound suddenly came from the jade bottle. Yang Kai's face was startled, and before he could find out what was going on, he saw a small figure jumping out of the jade bottle. The small figure was only about the length of a finger, like a small snake. At this moment, it was burning with scorching flames, shaking its head and rushing straight up. After breaking away from the shackles of the jade bottle, he flicked his tail and looked like he was about to run away. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. Chapter 2017 Gongsun Wood. Yang Kai didn't expect such a thing to happen at all. If he was outside, he might be escaped by this thing. But this is the mysterious small world of the mysterious boundary pearl after all. So Yang Kai was only slightly taken aback, then stretched out his hand to grab it. The aura of heaven and earth in mysterious Shaoji moved at will, and the small figure flew less than 3 zhang away before being held in place by an invisible force. Even so, it was still struggling restlessly, and a high-pitched dragon chant came from inside. Until this moment, Yang Kai didn't see its appearance clearly. This is a real dragon that has shrunk countless times, and it is a red fire dragon that is burning with flames. Yang Kai was taken aback, and said in amazement, "Young dragon." But soon, he discovered that this was not the case. The thing that looked like a young dragon turned into a drop of bright red in a twist. It is about the size of a small fingernail, but it is like magma. Even if it is 3 feet away, Yang Kai can feel the scorching power from it. Yang Kai's face changed, and soon he seemed to remember something, and exclaimed, "Dragon blood, it is the blood of a real dragon." What was contained in the jade bottle was not a young dragon, but a drop of real dragon blood. Judging from the previous scene, this is a drop of fire dragon blood. If it can be obtained by warriors who cultivate the strength of the fire element, it will definitely be of great benefit. But it is not useless to Yang Kai. Although Yang Kai didn't major in fire power, he was able to fuse the real dragon secret treasure through the demon transformation art, and the real dragon scale was fused into his body to cover the vital position of his heart. He has also been preparing to fuse the dragon bone sword into his body. The dragon bone sword is refined from a real dragon spine and a dragon ball. Back then, it was just a rough sacrificial refining and did not damage its roots, so there is no problem in merging it. Fusing that dragon scale gave Yang Kai a huge benefit, and he has always been obsessed with the dragon bone sword, but before that, his strength was not enough to fuse, and later his strength improved, but he didn't have much time. At this moment, he got another drop of true dragon's blood. If it can be integrated properly, maybe it can give yourself a part of the power of a real dragon. After all, he has the original power of the golden holy dragon in his body. Yang Kai's expression changed, but deep in his heart he was greatly surprised. It wasn't until now that he realized that the jade bottle containing the dragon's blood was nothing ordinary. After a little perception, he realized that the jade bottle was densely covered with restrictions, and it was extremely cold. It feels like it can be probed with divine sense, but it seems to be able to freeze the divine sense. Only such a rare treasure can hold a drop of dragon's blood. After pondering for a while with a serious face, Yongkai did not rush to merge. Back then, he had suffered a lot from using the demon transformation art to fuse dragon scales, so he was going to check some information before making any plans. After making up his mind, he carefully put away the dragon's blood and walked out of mysterious Shaoji with a shake of his figure. In the next few days, Yongkai has been wandering around the major shops in Fenggalan City, and even went to the black market a few times. He sold all the monster body materials brought out from the 5-color pagoda in exchange for a lot of source crystals. Afterwards, he spent a lot of source crystals to buy many strange classics, and returned to the cave to read them behind closed doors. Stand up. What happened after entering the Star Realm made him know that he had to learn all kinds of information in the Star Realm as soon as possible, so although these ancient books were messy, they were exactly what he needed at this moment. It includes an introduction to the secret realms of the major sects in the Star World, the distribution of forces, topography and landforms, and even some illustrations of medicinal materials. These well-known information are not difficult to find out. After Yongkai spent a few days reading it, he finally had a general understanding of the star boundary. And some of the classics also recorded some secret information, but it is not known whether it is true or not, but it is a pity that he did not find many records about the true dragon clan. He only knows that in this star world, there is a dragon island on Nalong Island, there are many dragons living there. On the contrary, he found a lot of information about the fusion of real dragon secret treasures into the body. Most of them said that they needed special skills and it was different depending on the person. Even if someone could fuse successfully, if his physique was not good enough, he would be killed by the secret treasure of the real dragon. Yongkai felt that there should be no problem with himself. He has a special skill of transforming demons, and his physique is strong enough, and he also has the original power of the golden dragon, so he has unique conditions for merging with the secret treasure of the real dragon. However, there is no rush for this matter. His top priority at the moment is to advance to the Tao origin realm. A big improvement in realm is enough to cause earth-shaking changes in his strength. Time flies, half a month has passed. Yongkai walked out of the cave and came to the spiritual pill workshop. According to the previous agreement with comprehension, he entered the alchemy workshop of the spiritual pill workshop to refine alchemy. 10 days later, when Yongkai refined enough spirit pills and walked out of the alchemist, comprehension was already standing there with a smile on his face waiting. Treasurer Kong. Yongkai slightly cupped his fists and greeted him. Pill Master Yang, I have to thank you this time. Comprehension seemed to be in a good mood, his old face wrinkled with a smile. It's just an agreement, shopkeeper Kong doesn't need to care about it. Yongkai smiled and looked at shopkeeper Kang's expression. Is there any happy event happening? Quote. Not really, but, the 2 alchemists sent by the headquarters arrived 5 days ago. So that's how it is. Yongkai understood. Comprehension had been worrying about the supply of pills in the spirit pill workshop. Before that, all the alchemists in the workshop had been poached by the opponent's pill artifact pavilion. If it wasn't for Yongkai, I have refined pills for him a few times, and I am afraid that the spirit pill workshop will really close down. Now the alchemist sent by the headquarters of the Ziwen Chamber of Commerce has finally arrived, which can be considered to have relieved Comprehension's worries. Then congratulations to shopkeeper Kong. Yongkai smiled. Comprehension smiled and said, if Pill Master Yang can stay and continue to make alchemy for the alchemy workshop, then this old man. Yongkai waved his hand and said, Shopkeeper Kong, I'm afraid this is not possible. I told you before that I don't make a living from alchemy. The reason why I agreed to you last time was because I needed alchemy. Now that your Chamber of Commerce headquarters the 2 sent alchemists have arrived, so I won't come to make alchemy in the future. Hearing this, Comprehension sighed majestically. It's a pity. In fact, with alchemist Yang's ability, if he can concentrate on alchemy, his achievements in the future may not be much worse than Master Wangfu from the headquarters. Yongkai smiled slightly. Since alchemist Yang has given up his intentions to go, the old man will not persuade you anymore. You have refined a lot of spirit pills before in this time. I will carefully calculate how much source crystals you should share, and then someone will send them to your cave. Thank you. Yongkai nodded. Then I will take my leave. Kong Saran nodded, and went towards the layman together with Yang Kai. On the way, Kong Saran suddenly said, "Pill Master Yang, I would like to ask, do you really need all kinds of pills?" "That's right, shopkeeper Kong has connections." Yang Kai's eyes lit up. "If shopkeeper Kong sells a prescription that I don't know about, I can buy it, and the price will definitely satisfy you." Kong Saran smiled and said, "Pill Master Yang has great kindness to this old man. If this old man really has the alchemy formula, why not give it to you? Why bother to say a price?" "Treasurer Kong doesn't have any pills." Yang Kai was stunned. Kong Saran smiled mysteriously, and said, "Although I don't have it, I know that there should be a place, and if that place is real, not only there are a lot of alchemy formulas, maybe, there is also an inheritance from an alchemy master." Quote. "What do you mean?" Yang Kai frowned. "How about this, Pill Master Yang, come with me, I'll talk to you carefully." Kong Saran thought for a while, and led Yang Kai to walk towards his room. Not long after, the two entered the room, and Kong Saran asked for some tea before he spoke. After listening for a long time, Yang Kai realized that Kong Saran had a piece of information in his hand, knowing the existence of a cave. And that cave is very likely to be the cave left by an alchemy master. And this piece of information, he has known it for many years, but he has been limited by his strength and has no ability to go deep, but he has also inquired a lot, and even went to investigate it himself. Basically, he is 80% sure that it is true. It really is the alchemy master's cave. Yang Kai's heart was burning, and he asked anxiously, "Which master does it belong to?" "Gongsun Mu. I wonder if Pill Master Yang has heard of this person." Kong Saran replied slowly. "Gongsun Mu." Yang Kai frowned, recalling the classics he had read a few days ago. He seemed to have vaguely seen this name, but he didn't describe it in detail. Seeing his expression, Kong Saran smiled slightly and said, "If Pill Master Yang has never heard of Gongsun Mu, then he must know that one of the top 10 emperors has a superb alchemy technique, reaching the pinnacle." "Emperor Miao Dan?" Yang Kai raised his eyebrows. "That's right, among the top 10 emperors, only Miao Emperor Pill entered the Tao with Dan, achieved the highest peak, and is admired by people." Treasurer Kong said so. "What is the relationship between Gongsun Mu and Emperor Miao Dan?" Yang Kai asked thoughtfully. "That Gongsun Mu is one of the 3 disciples of Emperor Miao Dan." Kong Saran smiled slightly. Yang Kai couldn't help but change color. "Originally, this kind of secret, the old man is not qualified to know, but I have been inquiring about the cave for these years, so I know more than others. Gongsun Mu is the close disciple of Emperor Miao Dan, and he is also the youngest one. Emperor Miao Dan seems to like him very much, but I don't know where Gongsun Mu offended Emperor Miao Dan. The great emperor was expelled from the sect, and finally lived in seclusion in the southern region, and ended up dying in a foreign land. It is really sad and lamentable." Quote. "Gongsun Mu has such a big background, how can shopkeeper Kong be sure that it is his cave?" Although Yang Kai was shocked, he still asked cautiously. Kong Saran smiled and said, "Of course there are reasons for old age. Let's put it this way, when Gongsun Mu was expelled from the sect of Emperor Miao Dan, he brought a servant with him, and that servant was only responsible for taking care of his daily life, but later on Gongsun Mu, whose temperament changed drastically, was driven away. And the old man got the information from the descendant of the servant." To be continued. This text is provided by the Dawn Update group at Woai Xiaoniang T. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2018 The Zhang Family. Gongsun Mu had a prominent status back then, so even the servants around him were not low in strength. After being driven away by Gongsun Mu, he lived in seclusion in the southern region, married wives and had children, spread branches and leaves, and created a family of his own. Chalk. But this has been passed down from generation to generation, and the descendants of the family have mixed aptitude, and eventually fell into depression. Until more than 100 years ago, there was only one descendant left in this family, and that descendant was rescued by Kong Saran when he was hunted down by his enemies. However, there is no way to recover. Before the heir died, he readily told the secrets passed down by word of mouth in the family. This is also the reason why Kong Saran was able to obtain information about Gongsun Mu Dongfu, which is quite bizarre and tortuous. But Yang Kai heard it, but he didn't have any doubts. First, after being in contact with Kong Saran for so many days, he felt that Kong Saran was a pretty good person, not a villain, so there was no need to lie to himself. Secondly, there are many coincidences in this world, and even he himself has experienced many times. After thinking for a while, Yang Kai said, if it is really Gongsunmu's cave, there is a need to explore it. But, why did shopkeeper Kong come to me? Your chamber of commerce is full of talents, and there are many people who are stronger than me, right? Please, wouldn't it be better for people to go forward? Saran chuckled. Pill Master Yang is worrying too much. Our headquarters of the Chamber of Commerce is indeed full of talents, and there are countless Daoyuan realm experts. If you invite them to go together, the chances of success and safety will be greatly improved, but if it is true, how much benefit can the old man get? Pill Master Yang needs to know that this is a private action of mine, not a matter of the Chamber of Commerce. If the strong people in the headquarters know about it, the old man will not even be able to drink the soup. My plan is to find someone with similar strength as me to go with me, please understand this point. Yang Kai nodded slightly and said, I understand shopkeeper Kang's concerns. Pill Master Yang is able to understand, it's the luck of this old man. I don't know what Pill Master Yang means. Yang Kai smiled and said, since Gongsunmu, the alchemy master, is involved, of course I am also very excited. Saran was overjoyed and said, since that's the case, then it's settled. But I still have one thing to ask for. Shopkeeper Kong, please tell me. Saran looked serious, and said in a concentrated voice, if there are still Daoyuan pills left in the cave, I need to take one first. This is no problem, Yang Kai readily agreed without thinking about it. Saran was stunned, as if he didn't expect Yang Kai to agree so quickly. He couldn't help showing a trace of gratitude on his face. Thank you Alchemist Yang for fulfilling the task. This old man knows that his aptitude is dull. If he doesn't have Daoyuan pill to help him, he will never be promoted in this life. Daoyuan is already in the Daoyuan realm, but how rare is such a Daoyuan pill? This time the 5-color pagoda is opened, and the old man has no chance with the 3 Daoyuan fruits. If not, the old man would not rush to explore that cave. Don't worry, regardless of whether there is Daoyuan pill in it, all the things related to alchemy belong to Pill Master Yang. As for other things, you and I will discuss and distribute them at that time. Okay, Yang Kai nodded. When are we going to leave? Tentatively, 1 month later. After 1 month, I will wait for Alchemist Yang in the alchemy workshop. I also need to make some preparations during this month. In addition, an auction is going to be held in the city. I want to join in the fun, to see if we can gain something. I wonder if Pill Master Yang is interested in going with him. Saran asked. An auction will be held in the city. Yang Kai was stunned. That's right. Saran chuckled and said, this time, the warriors of my Fenggalan city got a lot of good things from the 5-color pagoda, so the city lord decided to hold an auction to let everyone exchange information. Maybe at this auction, the old man can still see the Daoyuan fruit. Pill Master Yang is also at the 3rd level of the Void King. I'm afraid it's time to prepare the Daoyuan pill in advance, right? It should be. When and where will this auction start? Yang Kai asked. Half an hour later, Yang Kai came out from the spirit pill workshop. Regarding the auction, Yang Kai didn't say whether he would definitely go or not. He only told Saran that if he was free then, he would go to join in the fun. Saran naturally had no objection. After leaving the spirit pill workshop, he thought for a while, but instead of returning to his cave, he went straight out of the city. After a while, after leaving Fenggalan city, Yang Kai recognized the direction and flew towards the North Yukong. About 30 miles away from Fenggalan city, there is a manor-like existence. There are many houses inside the manor, and the area is quite vast. There are small bridges and flowing water inside, and the environment is quiet and quite elegant. Yang Kai fell from the sky alone. His spiritual mind swept across a part of the manor, and murmured, it should be here. The reason why he came here was naturally because he wanted to fulfill the agreement he had made with that guy named Zhang Gaoshuan in the 5-color pagoda. The Zhang family can be regarded as a well-known family in Fenggalan city, so he just inquired a little bit, and then he knew where the Zhang family was. The Zhang family's foundation was not placed inside Fenggalan city, but outside Fenggalan city. After all, every inch of land in Fenggalan city is expensive, and it will cost a lot to house a large family. But building an outer house outside it's different. Although the aura of heaven and earth here is not too strong, it is no problem for a small family to use it. Yang Kai glanced at it, and knew that someone from the Zhang family should know a little bit about formations, and arranged some simple formations in this manner to gather the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Obtained a Daoyuan fruit from the Zhang family's advocate Gao Zan. Yang Kai had to come here to take a look at it, and bring Zhang Gaoxuan's other relics and instructions. I didn't have much time before, so I dragged it until today. Arriving at the main entrance, Yang Kai was about to raise his voice to shout, but he didn't want to suddenly shoot two streamers of light from the inside of the main entrance, with a fierce momentum, straight to his face. Behind the two beams of light, two figures also sprang out, each holding the spirit art. Their eyes were red, as if they had some unshakable hatred with Yang Kai, and they looked like they were going to kill him then quickly. Yang Kai was astonished. However, he didn't pay much attention to the other party's attack. After all, the cultivation base of these two people is really not high. One is at the second level of void returning and the other is at the first level of void returning. So he stood there without moving, bent a finger, and flicked forward. With two crisp sounds, the two beams of light that hit the door in front of him shattered. Seeing this situation, the two people who followed were stunned, but soon, they rushed up with ferocious faces, with a look of death, and they didn't know what secret technique they used, and each opened their mouths to spit out a mouthful of essence. Blood, breath all over the body sword. Yang Kai frowned immediately. Before the two of them could sacrifice any more secret treasures, his domain field was released leisurely. In an instant, the two of them felt as if they were being suppressed by a mountain. They were all stiff and unable to move, but everyone's expression was extremely angry, looking at Yang Kai's eyes almost wanting to spit fire. This is the Zhang family. Yang Kai maintained the prestige of the field, suppressing the two, and asked lightly. These two are men who look to be about 30 years old, one is fat and the other is thin. Hearing this, the fatter man snorted coldly. Why bother to ask? If you want to kill, just kill, no need to talk nonsense. Although the thinner man didn't speak, the stern look in his eyes obviously meant the same thing. What happened to the Zhang family? Yang Kai was not an idiot either. Seeing this situation, he couldn't help but frown. You are really long-winded. Since you are here to work for the Liu family, why bother to put on a show? The fatter warrior snorted coldly, with a look of disdain on his face. The thinner martial artist continued with a sneer. That old man Liu Baichuan has a good face, so the people he invited are all of the same sort, so why should the third brother be surprised? The fat warrior laughed and said, that's right, it's my third brother who is stupid. After the words fell, he spat at Yang Kai fiercely. Yang Kai sighed. You two may have misunderstood. I don't know Liu Baichuan, and I don't know the Liu family you are talking about. It was only because you suddenly attacked me that I fought back. You don't know that old thief Liu Baichuan. Why did you come to my Zhang family again? At this moment, an angry voice suddenly came from inside the manor, and then, an old woman with silver hair, holding a wooden stick that was as tall as a person, walked step by step with the support of a young girl, out. And behind the old woman, many other people followed. The old woman was not young, her face was full of wrinkles, and there were some brown age spots. Her eyes were like thunder, staring at Yang Kai. With a sweep of Yang Kai's spiritual sense, he immediately understood that this old woman had a Void King first-level cultivation base, and she should have injured her roots recently, so the Saint Yuan in her body was a little disordered. But what puzzled him even more was that the people who followed the old woman were all women, middle-aged women, young girls, and even a few young children. The only male present was the fat and thin warrior who had sneaked up on him earlier. It was as if all the men in this family had died except for the fat and thin men. With a wave of Yang Kai's hand, he dispersed his field and released the two fat and thin men. The two men were quite acquainted. They seemed to be aware of the huge gap in strength between themselves and Yang Kai, so they didn't bother, but came to the old woman's side in a flash, looking at Yang Kai vigilantly in a guarding posture. I'm Yang Kai, I've seen the old lady, and I dare to ask if this is the Zhang family. Yang Kai clasped his fists and saluted. Yes, this is the Zhang family. The old woman replied in a deep voice with a cane in her hand. It's the Zhang family. Yang Kai smiled slightly, then pondered for a while and said, Old Furin, do you have any misunderstandings about me? Why did I attack you as soon as I came here? Misunderstanding? The old woman sneered. Whether it is a misunderstanding or not, it depends on who you are here for. You said before that you didn't know that old thief Liu Baichuan. Yang Kai shook his head and said, I've never heard of it before. Read. Chapter 2019. Bring a letter. Grandmother, don't listen to his nonsense. If Liu Baichuan hadn't invited him, why would he come to my Zhang family at this time? Before the old woman could speak, the fat warrior who had been imprisoned by Yang Kai suddenly yelled. Yang Kai smiled wryly. On the other hand, the old woman gave the fat warrior a hard look, and said sharply, I need you to tell me how to do things. The fat warrior was taken aback, and he didn't even dare to say it. Only then did the old woman turn her gaze back to Yang Kai, scanning her spiritual sense, and when she realized that Yang Kai's cultivation was much higher than hers, her face changed slightly, and she said, Your Excellency has advanced cultivation. If it is really Lu Baichuan, please, I'm afraid you won't talk nonsense with me. Okay, I believe you, but I don't know why Your Excellency came to my Zhang family. I came here because of someone's entrustment. Old lady, please take a look. Yang Kai threw a space ring towards the old woman while speaking. The old woman caught it with her hands and took a deep look at Yang Kai before pouring her spiritual sense into the space ring. The next moment, the old woman's face turned pale, and her body swayed violently. As if she had been severely injured, she opened her mouth and spit out a blood arrow. Her already old face suddenly became even older. How dare you sneak attack? The fat warrior shouted angrily. No wonder he had this kind of misunderstanding. After all, the old woman suddenly had this change after catching the space ring. Anyone would think that Yang Kai had tampered with the space ring and sneaked up on the old woman. The rest of the women also looked fierce, and they all looked at Yang Kai with righteous indignation. The strength of each individual was ups and downs, and the more impatient ones had already sacrificed their secret treasures, and they were about to attack Yang Kai immediately. Facing such a group of female soldiers, Yang Kai couldn't help but feel his scalp tingle. He stepped a little, then retreated, and distanced himself from them. Stop! The old woman suddenly shouted. These women are also very obedient, although they are not angry with Yang Kai's behavior and deeds, but under the order of the old woman, none of them made a move again. Grandmother, how are you? Are you all right? At this moment, the young girl who had been supporting the old woman asked worriedly, reaching out her hand to caress the old woman's back. The old woman shook her head, raised her eyes, and looked at Yang Kai with no hostility, but full of grief and desolation. Dare to ask, little brother, who did you get this space ring from? Quote. Yang Kai's mouth squirmed, and the sound transmission entered the old woman's ears. The old woman was stunned when she heard this, and she staggered a step again, and then smiled wryly. Fate. Although the old woman had expected it, I didn't expect it to be so. My lord, what happened? A middle-aged beautiful woman with a first-level Void King cultivation base asked. Look at this. The old woman handed the ring on her hand to the middle-aged beautiful woman. After the middle-aged beautiful woman took it and looked it over carefully, her pretty face suddenly turned pale, and when she searched the inner space with her spiritual sense, tears flowed down her eyes. As a family member of Zhang Gaoshuan, he naturally recognized those things in the space ring. Now that Zhang Gaoshuan's space ring is here, but no one is there, anyone can guess what will happen. Looking at this scene, Yang Kai couldn't help feeling touched, but he didn't urge him. He just stood there and waited quietly for the Zhang family to digest the news that Zhang Gaoshuan had died. Although the others didn't know the specific inside story, seeing the old woman and the middle-aged beautiful woman's expressions, they naturally had guesses in their hearts, and they all looked sad. After a long time, the old woman took a deep breath, looked at Yang Kai and said, Your guest is here, I'm being rude, please come in and talk about it. All right, I still have something to give you. Yang Kai nodded. At the moment, under the leadership of the old woman and the middle-aged beautiful woman, Yang Kai came to a large hall in the manor. At this moment, everyone else was already waiting outside the door. Only the old woman, the middle-aged woman and the young girl came in. The young girl seemed to be dedicated to serving the old woman, so she never left her. Now she was standing behind the old woman, looking curiously at her with her beautiful eyes. Looking at Yang Kai. After ordering people to serve tea, the old woman said, Little brother, there was a misunderstanding before, and I hope that little brother Nian has suddenly undergone major changes in my Zhang family. Don't be offended. It's okay, old madam, please let me know. Yang Kai nodded. You said just now that there is something to give to us. I wonder what it is. The old woman asked. This. Yang Kai took out another jade slip, handed it to the old woman, and said, Before Patriarch Zhang died, he left some information inside with his spiritual sense, and the old lady will know it after reading it. The old woman thanked her for taking it. She let out her spiritual thoughts to investigate, and after a while, she quietly handed it to the middle-aged beautiful woman. After the middle-aged beautiful woman finished her investigation, she gritted her teeth and said, It really was that old thief Lu Baichuan who killed your husband. My lord, I'm going to avenge my husband. Hearing what she said, Yang Kai knew that this middle-aged beautiful woman was Zhang Gaoshuan's wife, and from this point of view, this old woman was Zhang Gaoshuan's mother. When an old woman loses a son, and a white-haired man sends a black-haired man, how sad it must be, but this old woman can adjust in a very short period of time, which makes Yang Kai a little admirable. Revenge, of course you have to take revenge. But do you have the ability? The old woman gave the middle-aged Miru a cold look. My daughter-in-law is indeed no match for that old thief, but even if she dies, she still has to eat a piece of that old thief's flesh and blood. The middle-aged beautiful woman clenched her silver teeth, her beautiful eyes filled with hatred. That's beautiful. The old woman sneered, I'm afraid you won't be able to die if you want to, and you will be insulted. As soon as these words came out, the middle-aged beautiful woman couldn't help but turn pale. Sit back for me yet. The old woman slammed her cane fiercely and shouted majestically. The middle-aged beautiful woman didn't dare to disobey, and fell back to her seat feebly, her beautiful eyes seemed to lose a little bit of expression. Seeing this, Yang Kai sighed and said, Old madam, may I ask the nobleman, besides Brother Zhang's misfortune in the Five Colors Pagoda, is there anything else going on? The old woman's face darkened when she heard the words, she nodded and said, Let the little brother see it, the family is unlucky. After a moment of silence, the old woman recounted what happened to the family recently. In this area of Fenggalan City, the Zhang family and the Lu family have always had a good friendship, because the ancestors of the two families came to Fenggalan City together and worked together to build a foundation. It has been passed down for hundreds of years, and it can be regarded as several generations of family friends. This time the five-color pagoda was opened, and the two families advocated that Gao Zan and Lu Baichuan entered it together. And just after the opening of the five-color pagoda, the juniors of the two families even went to a place to practice. But I never thought that all of this turned out to be a conspiracy of the Lu family. In that dangerous place, all the descendants of the Zhang family were killed and injured, but everyone in the Lu family retreated safely. Only survived, otherwise, the Zhang family might lose a single male. After the five-color pagoda was closed, only Lu Baichuan returned, and Zhang Gaoshuan was nowhere to be seen. And Lu Baichuan also changed his previous attitude. After returning, he frequently put pressure on the Zhang family, wanting to let one of his sons marry Zhang Ruoxi, a girl from the Zhang family's generation. The head of the Zhang family disappeared suddenly, and everyone in the family was worried. How could they agree to such a request at this time? What's more, the old woman herself also had doubts about the Lu family, and felt that there was something wrong with her previous experience, so she immediately rejected her. Unexpectedly, Lu Baichuan directly tore his face and wanted to forcibly take that Zhang Ruoxi away, and even fought in the Zhang family. Lu Baichuan, like Zhang Gaoshuan, is at the third level of the Void King. The Zhang family is now a widow. How could he be his opponent? The strength temporarily repulsed Lu Baichuan. I am afraid that there is no Zhang family now. Now that the jade slip brought back by Yang Kai contained the message left by Zhang Gaoshuan before his death, the old woman knew that the death of her son was indeed caused by Lu Baichuan. All the previous doubts were suddenly cleared up. The sadness and hatred in the old woman's heart can be imagined. Yang Kai listened, and was silent for a while. I thought to myself that this should be a common method for one family to annex another family. There are not many males left in the family, so how can it be passed on? As long as they take the opportunity to get married, the Zhang family will be slowly annexed by the Lu family in that day, and from then on, there will be no Zhang family in Fenggalan City. However, he still has some doubts in his heart. As the saying goes, people make money and birds die for food. The two families of Zhang and Lu have been friends for hundreds of years. Why did they suddenly change their faces in this generation? He didn't know if there was anything else involved in it, and he didn't have the heart to ask more. Old Furin, since you have read the information in the jade slip, you should also know the agreement between me and Patriarch Zhang. Yang Kai said suddenly. The old woman nodded. Gao Zan has made it very clear in the jade slips that as long as the little brother still lives in Fenggalan City, he can agree to the 3 requests of my Zhang family within his ability, and after the source fruit is refined into a pill, it will give my Zhang family a Daoyuan pill. Daoyuan fruit. The middle-aged beautiful woman was startled when she heard the words, and asked suspiciously, Husband, did he get the Daoyuan fruit? That's right. Yang Kai nodded, and he didn't mean to hide anything. Patriarch Zhang did get a Daoyuan fruit in the 5-color pagoda, and now it's in my hand. This is also one of the agreements between me and Patriarch Zhang. The old woman glanced at the middle-aged beautiful woman, and said with a cold snort, "It's not a crime to conceive a jade. My Zhang family is not able to keep such treasures as Daoyuanguo, let alone, it is now the little brother's property." The middle-aged beautiful woman looked shocked, and said solemnly, "My lord mother taught me, Gane understands." The old woman turned her head and looked at Yang Kaidao. "Little brother, don't worry, only the four of us know about Daoyuanguo in this world, and no one else will know. I am grateful that the little brother can fulfill the agreement and come to the Zhang family. Endless, I admire your character and reputation, little brother, and I will not cause you any trouble." To be continued. This text is provided by the Dawn Update group at Woai Xiaoniang T. If you like for this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation.